Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. It is Friday, October 25th, 3:45 p.m., and we are officially done with the week, folks. Exciting Friday, really fun Friday. We got one stock here that in the next 15 minutes might end up closing. It'll probably close at its highest level ever, whether it's 44.90, 44.80, whatever it is. But what I think we're all waiting for is that $45 close on Palantir. Palantir hit $45 on January 27, 2021, so over 3 years ago. It touched it briefly on that day. In 2021, we had a completely different company and a completely different macro landscape. Things are different now. And as a result of things being different, with the AI thematic that is taking off, with the growth of the company, the reacceleration of the commercial growth, 45 is more welcomed than revered back when it was in 2021. So up 3.29% on the day. I mean, it's pinned at 45 right here. It's going to be very interesting to kind of see how this closes out in the next 14 minutes. Do we need to close above 45? No, we don't need to, because given that we've been teetering over 45 now, if we have a good earnings, I think that there is a shot we can go above 45 if we have a really strong earnings. But it would just be really cool to end out this week above $45 for Palantir, officially closing at Palantir's first ever all-time high at this $45 range. So it's going to be exciting stuff. We got about 14 minutes to see what happens. Thank you, everybody, for being here once again today. The entire market has had a pretty nice Friday, to be honest. Tesla is also up another 2.76%, 268 right now. Actually closing in on 3% right here. Hopefully closing in this 268 to 269 range. And that gets you up 25% for the week. If you had 230 calls, 240 calls, 250 calls expiring today, and you bought those before earnings, you're doing very well on those calls. So those calls are doing very good for the buyers of them. Tesla right here, 268. The reason why Tesla's up 3% after being up 22% yesterday is because Waymo raised $5.5 billion from external investors. And that $5.5 billion most likely signals that, it signals two things. Number one, it's kind of weird Google's not giving them the money and that they're raising outside money. Kind of signals Google maybe doesn't have that much confidence in them. It is a little weird. But B, it signals that a lot of investors are betting that full self-driving or some type of autonomous robo-taxi network is going to be real one day. And because they think it's going to be real and they're willing to bet on a competitor like Waymo, it means the overall TAM in the market is probably expanding. And I think that's why Tesla's getting a bit of a bid right now as well. NVDA 142, PayPal 8158, TSM 203. You got Celsius down about 0.5% on the day. SoFi, hopefully a close above 11 on SoFi would be very significant. It's been teetering around 1090 to 1103, hit a top of 1136 today, got upgraded from 12 to 14 this morning by Mizuho. So a close above 11 will be awesome for SoFi. And we'll see in the next 15 minutes how that plays out. Bitcoin's been a little weird today. Bitcoin went almost to 69,000, then came all the way back down to 65. There was this report that the Justice Department was launching a probe against Tether. Then they came out and they said, no, that's not happening. So you had this candle right here where you're seeing it went all the way down to 65,855, then came back to 67. Now it's 66. So Bitcoin kind of just being Bitcoin today, nothing too crazy from them. And Apple up 231, up 0.42%. S&P is also flat as well. Again, it hit 584, which was nice today. Now back to 579. It does seem like we got 2 weeks left till the election, and some money's just waiting out until that election happens to kind of decide what they are going to be doing with their capital. 44.99 right here on Palantir. Gene says, thoughts on New York Stock Exchange extending trading to 22 hours a day. So this is another piece of news that I wanted to address. This came out this morning as well. We briefly touched on it on the market open, but we didn't get to go too deep into it. My thoughts on this are it's actually not that big of a deal. And some people are misreading this news. So they're acting like the stock market is going to open at 1:30 a.m. That's not going to be the case. The stock market opens at 9:30 a.m., but extended hours will open at 1:30 a.m. So, at 4 a.m. when like the stock market opens and, the stock market extended hours open and you can like not buy or sell options, but you can like buy or sell some stocks. That's going to happen a couple hours early. That's fine. I don't really think that's that big of a deal. That will create more like overall trading activity. But it's not like the actual market bell is going to ring at 1:30 a.m. And then the market closes at 4 p.m. You have extended hours till 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Then it's going to be extended from 8 p.m. to 11:30. Again, it'll create more trading volumes, which is actually very bullish for Robinhood, to be honest, because that just means more people will be able to trade. Now, Robinhood already allowed you to trade 24 hours, so it doesn't really matter for them, but you just might have more participation. But overall, it's not like the core hours of the market are going to change. So, I think we'll see more activity, more, liquidity probably arise in different parts of of the night. And for international investors, that's going to be very, very beneficial for them as well. Because when people in the US are sleeping, you got other people across the world that can access US markets. But I don't know if there's going to be that dramatic of a change from where it is right now. So big news, but not news that I think is that necessarily crazy. Now, if they actually opened the market earlier than 9:30, like the entire stock market, that would be big news. That means my job would start earlier every morning. But it doesn't seem like that is the case right here. You got Palantir at $44.98. We're trying to get that $45 close, which would be really fun to see, folks. We got 10 minutes left to see if that can happen. Someone says, cashed out a bunch of Palantir spreads this week, rolled to buying Palantir Jan 2027, 45 calls to catch the NVIDIA moment. I don't hate that. Look, I think Palantir is above 45 by January 2027. So I don't hate those strikes at all. It's just going to be a question of execution on earnings growth. And again, I know I sound like a broken record about earnings growth, but now it's all about earnings growth. And once we actually get those numbers, we'll be able to have a much better understanding of seeing kind of how this plays out. Lee says, I expect 45.01 to catch all those 45 covered calls, maybe, or maybe 44.99 to save those covered calls. It's based on the opinions, I guess, of the market makers today to see what'll happen. Bsoft says, every bone in my body has been telling me to take some profits pre-election, but all these green days every day, I just keep going, okay, one more day. So interestingly enough about the election, the Washington Post came out today morning, and they said, we are not endorsing a political candidate. Now, why is this big news? Because this is the first time since 1976 that the Washington Post has not endorsed a political candidate. Now, who owns the Washington Post? Mr. Jeff Bezos. What did Mr. Jeff Bezos do? Reportedly, there were 2 staff reporters at the Post that said the editorial page had already drafted an endorsement of Kamala Harris. And Bezos gave a little call to the editorial team at the newspaper that he bought for $250 million in 2013. And he said, yeah, we're going to shut that shit down. And so it's really interesting kind of how this is playing out. You know, you're talking about selling going into the election. It does seem like you've got a new paradigm we're operating in before we get into one of the biggest events of our lifetimes. The Los Angeles Times as well did not endorse a political candidate. Again, all of these mainstream newspapers, I don't know how many of you guys read these newspapers. Every time they come out with a political endorsement, I'm always just like, I don't really care. You know, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but they've always made an endorsement. It is very interesting this time that they're not doing it. Now, what was their logic in the article they put out this morning? They want to return back to their roots of like staying apolitical and neutral. Okay, that's fine. You know, some people were saying, oh, well, Bezos is not doing this because he wants Trump. Bezos is doing this because he wants to, like, you know, keep everything apolitical. I'm like, well, why didn't he do that in 2020 or 2016 or 2012, right? Like, why in 2024 is he all of a sudden, you know, saying we need to stay apolitical? One theory is he owns a crap ton of Bitcoin and he is Mr. 100. For those that don't know Mr. 100, Mr. 100 is a blockchain address that has been buying a crap ton of Bitcoin. The reason his name was Mr. 100 is because for the past couple months, it's been 100 Bitcoin every single day. And maybe Bezos is like, we need Trump to save his Bitcoin trade. So I'm just joking on that. I have no idea why he's doing this outside of the fact that it seems like he's not happy with his newspaper endorsing Harris. Maybe that's not an endorsement of Trump, but that is an endorsement of just like, hey, let's stay out of it because maybe they don't want to endorse Harris. So in terms of the question you said, Bsoft, about selling before the election, I feel you. I think there's a lot of jitters right now about maybe taking some profits before the election. I think selling some calls before the election is not a horrible thing. But again, regardless, my opinion on this has been pretty consistent. I think no matter who wins, it's not going to be a sweep. And if it's not a sweep, that means that markets are going to be, or the Congress is going to be in gridlock. And if that's the case, markets are probably not going to care about who ends up winning. Let's talk about why someone is buying NVIDIA at all-time highs and get some perspectives on that.
Bryn has bought more NVIDIA, which I thought was pretty interesting considering the stock has been up a lot. It's right on the heels here of Apple with market cap. Why'd you buy more here?
Yeah, so next week we know, which we're going to get into, we have the Oscars of earnings with all of the big names that we talk about. And I think that, how do you play that trade? I own NVIDIA, I've owned it for a long time. And I think the stock technically looks like it's breaking out. It had been consolidating for the past couple months, but I feel really confident Microsoft, Apple, via OpenAI, Meta, Google, Amazon are all going to be talking about what? Their AI initiatives. And so I think next week we'll have some winners and losers, some disappointments, but I think all roads once again lead to NVIDIA, and you're going to continue to see huge CapEx spends from these companies as they're all individually looking to monetize their own endeavors into AI. And I still think NVIDIA is in pole position to benefit from all of that CapEx spend. So I took the opportunity to add to it yesterday.
Yeah, it's in the midst of pretty good momentum. It's up 18% month to date. It's been up 28% in some 3 months. As I said, it's barely off of its record high. The others have a little bit more to go. So unafraid, I find, Bryn, to even after that kind of momentum to buy it here rather than wait for a pullback, which hasn't been out of the question for this stock over a period of time.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way I've been playing the stock is, I have sold calls against it. So when the stock sold down, I closed those call positions. So just owning the stock. And so I'm like taking advantage of the volatility. And I think that's a good thing to do with a lot of these names like an NVIDIA or a Tesla. But I just still see when I'm looking at Apple or Microsoft's, earnings and revenue growth really aren't that strong. Is part of that because of all of the CapEx, especially Microsoft is going to be doing. And
this is a good point. Microsoft's not growing that much because they're paying a lot to NVIDIA. And if all that's going to NVIDIA, the question just becomes, can that money keep going to NVIDIA, which theoretically makes NVIDIA cheap?
I just think NVIDIA is going to be the recipient. We won't get their numbers till the end of the month. And so I just think it's a good opportunity where next week is going to be a buy NVIDIA. And I think that's going to be a consistent story from all of these companies who are spending billions of dollars on Blackwell, on H100s, H200s.
Josh, it's a top 2 position, I think, for you. We're going to have to wait until November 20th for earnings, so we got a minute to wait there. What's your read?
Tesla 50 cents from 270. We got 4 minutes into the close. Let's see if SoFi 11, Palantir 45, and Tesla 270 in the next 4 minutes.
Here, what's your take on Bryn buying more up here?
Well, I always root for Bryn, but I would just say we know AI spending has been and should continue to be explosive. The question is, how much is already baked into the expectations for the stock? You're talking about a company that out of the last 5 years has had a triple-digit return, stock return in 4 of those 5 years. You're basically talking about a company that over the last year has grown its earnings per share by 415%. It's grown its sales by 195%. And investors have gotten accustomed to that kind of eye-bulging, eye-popping growth. And it's just hard for me to understand where that's going to come from. We already have the expectations based on all of the other Mag 7 names, the hyperscalers that are going to be doing this sort of investing. We know that. We also know that there's been a global push for companies to experiment with AI, incorporate AI, et cetera. So who's left? Is Jupiter and Mars going to start contributing here to the forward guidance? So that's the risk. I don't necessarily think that it has to be feast or famine. There's a universe in which NVIDIA reports great numbers. The stock doesn't rally, but doesn't get killed either. It's just a massive company with already embedded huge expectations. And the gains of the past are unlikely to be repeated from here. Doesn't mean there's not another 10% or another 15%. I just think it gets harder from these levels. And I'm saying this as a long. So
they're kicking our boy into the close, man. They got Palantir right here at 44.85. 1 minute left until the close. We were at 44.98. They're like, you know what? We're going to save your stupid $45 covered calls here. Let's see. We got a minute left. Maybe they get us that $45 close. Tesla right here as well was at 269.49, right now at 268.90. And then where is SoFi? SoFi 10. Look at that, 10.99. It's on the dot, dude. It was like at 11:05, 57 seconds ago. And now you're here at 10.99. So it's okay. It's still been an incredible week. And it's been a fun week, especially for Tesla. I mean, if you loaded up at Tesla below 220, you're having a great week. So we got 30 seconds left. Let's see where the market closes out, and then we will analyze what's going on with the rest of the market. 45 close would be great for my birthday weekend. That would be awesome. That would indeed be awesome. Let's see. We got 20 seconds. 44.87, maybe. Got 12 cents left to go. maybe can get into that 40. Regardless, this will be the highest close ever for Palantir, even if it's not 45. But still will be the highest close in the history of them being a public company. All right, here we go, folks. 4 p.m. Friday, October 25th. The stock market is now closed. All right, Palantir closes at $44.85 on the dot. Your $45 covered calls are saved for the day. Highest close ever in the history of Palantir. 45 again. It briefly touched in January 2021. Flirted with it all throughout the day. Didn't get the close above 45, but still up 3%. I don't think anyone can be upset. It is the first close of Palantir over $100 billion of market cap. Robinhood right here, 27.06, up about 0.5% after hours at 27.20. Now back to that 27.06 range. Palantir also jumped up to like 44.97 after hours, but then kind of jumped right back down to that 44.85 range. TSM closes at 203, up 3% on the day. SoFi closes exactly at 10.99, up 0.5% on the day. After hours, it's $11, but closing right here at 10.99. We still have to wait till 8 p.m. 8 p.m. we'll get the actual official close, and we'll see kind of what it looks like. But those are the closes we have so far in regular trading hours. Coca-Cola down about 0.5% on the day. You got IBM down about 2%. Their earnings were not the best this week. Southwest Airlines up about 1.38%. Let's go to the Mag 7. Apple 231 up about 1/3. Microsoft up a full percent on the day, 428. Meta 573. Google 167. Amazon 187. NVIDIA 141 up about 0.8%, and then Tesla right here up 3.34%. Tesla closes actually at 269, which is not too bad. Didn't get the 270, but not at 265 or 264, actually closing at 269, which is not too bad at all. We got Joe saying sold SoFi calls at 11. I'm sweating my sometimes I read the comment too quick and I forget. I'm sweating my balls right now, not wanting to get shares called. It is kind of funny though, right? When you like sold calls and they're really close to getting called away. And the market makers save you right here. You know, sometimes the stock closes above your strike price and the shares still don't get called away. But yeah, you closed at 10.99, which means there you go. You're good to go. If your strikes are at 11. Palantir up a little bit after hours, 44.93. And then you got Tesla right here, 269.19. McDonald's as well. Ending out that, wow, McDonald's was down 3% today. I didn't even see that. Where was Starbucks then? If McDonald's was down, Starbucks was up 0.16%. And then NVIDIA again up about 1% on the day. Not bad. Not bad at all. Pretty incredible week, which is not too bad. Amit, are you still feeling no rush to build out the Tesla position? Yeah, I mean, look, I hopefully if the year ends out well, then we'll have some more liquidity next year to do that. But, you know, in all honesty, the real reason I'm excited for Tesla, again, is humanoid robotics. It's less about FSD, even though I think that's going to be massive, but it is bots. And so if it takes some time to build out the position to go long on bots, then I think that's totally fine. I plan to sell puts in there. And because I understand a little bit more about wheeling, we can always reduce that adjusted cost basis. So no real rush there, especially, you know, to end out the year. So we'll see what happens next year and where it goes. But 269, look, is not a bad price. I think Tesla to 300 now sounds more realistic. After that 10-10 event, I think a lot of people felt Tesla to 300 would be tough because the catalysts weren't there, including myself. But a lot of people also forgot if they put up an amazing earnings, which this one was a phenomenal earnings, even if they slightly missed on revenue, just every single concern investors had, we can see it up 25% in 2 days was addressed. And now with market momentum, a melt up, money market funds coming into the broader market, you might get that $300 close by the end of the year, especially if S&P gets closer to 6,000. So we'll kind of see how the momentum turns out in the context of Tesla. Harmsy says, so selling a call like that, you get paid, but if it goes up and hits a strike, you have to sell your shares. Correct. So if you sold covered calls at 45 today for Palantir, when the stock was at like 40, someone bought those calls from you, right? So at $40, let's say you sold a $45 cover call expiring today. That means you are betting with the market, with the person who's buying the call, that Palantir will not be above 45 by the expiration date, which would be today. The other person is saying, no, you're wrong. Palantir will be above 45 by the expiration date. If it is above 45, because a contract controls 100 shares, the call that you sold to that person, meaning they bought the right to control your 100 shares, someone's got to give up the 100 shares. And because you entered into that contractual obligation, your 100 shares have to be obligated to be called away. Now, you can navigate that with rolling the position. So there's a lot of ways to deal with it. But theoretically, that's how it works. And the premium you got up front is the reasoning for why people sell calls and then just hope they can kind of navigate the stock not getting to those strikes on those calls. Effective strategy, but it's not been effective when a stock is in a massive uptrend like NVIDIA or Palantir, especially if you're emotionally attached to the stock. If you don't care about the stock, then it's whatever. But if you actually want to keep the shares, it's a little tough when you sell calls and then the stock runs, way beyond your strike. But it is an effective strategy at the end of the day. Okay, cool. So that's what we got at Palantir. Where's Rocket Lab? We didn't look at Rocket Lab all day. Rocket Lab 11.18. So Rocket Lab was flat on the day. It did touch $12, I think, yesterday. Now kind of just chilling out. Bitcoin, as we get into the market close, Bitcoin 66.6. So that one taking a little bit of a breather today. MicroStrategy as well was at 242, now at 234. Still, very close to all-time highs, but did not close above those all-time highs as Bitcoin went a little bit lower towards the end of the day. Is it too late to buy Hood? No. I bought another 50 shares of Hood today. Dude, I'm like addicted to buying Robin. It's kind of ridiculous, but I bought more Hood. I think Q3 earnings are going to be good. And I just keep asking myself, here's the real reason I bought Hood today. I bought it when it kind of dropped from like 27.60 to I think 27.20 is, what do I think Q4 is going to look like? Because I know Q3 is going to be pretty good. Do I think Q4 is going to be even better? And given everything I'm seeing with the amount of freaking money that's entering into this platform, I mean, there is a world where I think they have their highest level of deposits ever in the month of October. And we get that data in a couple weeks. We don't have to wait until Q4, which means when the market sees that data, like Robinhood gets $5.7 billion of deposits, which maybe I'm being aggressive there, but I'm also thinking like the 3% rollover match, the 2% brokerage match, a lot of people are taking. I mean, I know someone who put $100 million into Robinhood, the platform. So it's just there is a lot of money coming into this platform, and that means that there's a lot more money they're going to make off that money, but that also means the street is going to be like, all right, so they've got a lot of deposits, stocks worth $25 billion in market cap, they're growing above 40%, enterprise value is closer to 19 billion. It's likely undervalued there, just given the growth. And you got rate cuts coming down. And remember, companies that are growing command a higher premium when rates come down. If this was like 2% interest rates, 1% interest rates, Robinhood would be $50 to $60 because those assets that are growing 40% year over year, they command a higher premium because where else are you going to get a return on your money outside of those types of assets? So everyone leaves the money market funds, the high yield savings accounts, the treasury bonds, and they pile into things that are actually growing. That's how Tesla got to $1 trillion back in 2021. The problem is we had a lot of inflation, and that kind of messed up that whole situation, which is why we had to raise rates. But I do think as rates come down, that is going to be a tailwind for Robinhood. This is an example of what I'm talking about. Again, someone depositing 1.2 million, getting 38,000. It's a big deal. And these are retirement assets. This is money that's not leaving the platform probably ever until this person retires and takes the money out. So this is sticky deposits that deepens the relationship with these users. And they're probably just going to continue to keep depositing. Could the growth just be because of the bull market? Well, I mean, yeah, to an extent, 100%. It's been a bull market, which is why they've had a ton of growth. So that is fair. If 2025 ends up being a bear market, Robinhood's going to suffer. A lot of stocks will suffer, but Robinhood also will suffer because Robinhood is a bull call on the market. But if you think, this is why analyzing the macro is important. If you think 2025 is going to be decent, even if it's not as good as 2024, and you think that the crypto bull market can continue into 2025, the momentum, I think, continues as well. And to give Robinhood credit, they have diversified a decent amount outside of just trading revenues to other areas of business. And as a result, they maintain momentum outside of just being based on, it being a bull market, which is primarily all their net interest revenues that they've done as well. Okay, let's listen to Dan Ives talk a little bit about Tesla. He has gotten Tesla right. I mean, look, he said it was deeply undervalued at 213, and Tesla had an incredible earnings and kind of shut up a lot of the haters. I'll see if we can get Steve on the phone. He said he has some meetings coming up, so he might not be able to join us today, but I'll give him a text and see if he actually can join as well.
Some of your thoughts on the stock moves, which have been monstrous this week, can it continue to move higher?
It's just starting, because what I view is they needed to ultimately show that margin story that it was going to rebound. And we saw just massive margin rebound in terms of for Tesla. And it's all about deliveries into next year. 20 to 30% growth, much higher than anyone expected, even the bulls like us. I think it's get the popcorn out. This is just the stage to this company being over $1 trillion market cap.
I mean, someone when I was asking about the competitive landscape said there's a monstrous difference between Tesla and Lucid and Rivian. Would you say that's right? I mean, not even in the same sentence?
We're talking Mahomes compared to other quarterbacks, right? I mean, this is just a separation from a scale and scope. They're going to have 2 million deliveries next year. I mean, a lot of these other, you're talking about 100, 200K. What Tesla's able to do right now it's expanding that product line. You'll see Semi, you'll see Roadster, of course, Cybertruck's out there. Sub $30,000 vehicle, we think, going into next year. That's ultimately going to be the key as this all ultimately plays out. And look, you go into this, me and you have talked about this the last few weeks. New York City cab drivers barraging Tesla into this quarter. They showed the margins, they showed the delivery, and I do believe the robo-taxi takeaways was the wrong one that the bears came away with. This will be an autonomous and AI story over the coming years.
Kathy Wood over at ARK Invest sold 77,000 shares.
Actually, 85,000. Yesterday, she sold 85,000 shares. I don't think it was a real hey, we're gonna sell because the stock's going up and we want to take profits. I think it was a little bit more rebalancing, but it was indeed a sell of a decent amount of shares yesterday.
The closing price was $260.48, valued at over $20 million. Mistake taking some profits now? I mean, how quickly does this stock grow? Was that not a good move on her part?
Look, Kathy and ARK, one of the biggest supporters of Tesla, right? So, they'll, for the long term, if you look at their model on robo-taxis and where this is all heading, it just speaks to our broader point. This is the most undervalued AI play in the market. And I think what we saw with this quarter was a huge step in the right direction because of margins. Because we could talk about AI autonomous all day long. Comes down to margins. You couldn't see those team margins. So the 200 BIP improvement now going to 20% next year. But look, 20 or 30% delivery growth. If they even hit the bottom end of that range, then this is a stock with a 3 in front of it.
Yeah.
I would tend to agree. I don't think the Kathy sell was that big of a deal. I think it was more so just, them rebalancing a little bit, but still, she did indeed take some profit there. And, Kathy tends to do that. When it runs up a lot, she takes profits. She does have a lot of Tesla. And when it goes down, she, tends to buy more. Speaking of robbing it again, I just got a text from someone or a tweet from someone. Look at this right here. This is what I mean. People are moving their IRAs in Doves. I moved my IRAs to Hood. Their new platform for futures looks sick. That came in 2 minutes ago. So it's just, I think a lot of people are doing it. And as a result of that, I think Q4 is going to even be better than Q3, especially because the comps from last year are easy to beat. And, that can help them a lot at the end of the day. All right. What else do we got going on? So Steve did not text me back, so I don't think we're going to get him on. He said in the morning he would be good, but he had some meetings come up. So we'll see. Maybe in the next 10 minutes he can get on here. But if not, we'll just keep analyzing and keep doing some other stuff. Thomas says you could analyze the macro 24/7 and still not know what's going to happen. No one really does. I agree with that. No one knows what's going to happen in the macro, but I went on that little rant yesterday about that Peter Lynch quote about if you spend more than 10 minutes on economics, you've wasted 10 minutes. I just couldn't disagree more. I think that's so wrong. I think when you're trying to figure out how to invest in the market, you need to have an understanding of the macro. And it's a skill set to be able to understand all the different elements of how things are interacting with each other to then make an informed decision. That doesn't mean you know what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen. But at least you have more information to have a hypothetical guess that is more educated than not about what is going to happen. So I do still think analyzing the macro is super important. Quite frankly, if we could all have better analyzed the macro in 2022 and realized that if inflation is at 7-8%, there is no way in hell rates are going to be cut anytime soon, which means stocks are going to suffer. It's inevitable that if rates go higher, equities look unattractive, especially given how bloated they were in 2021. And I know hindsight is always 2020, but it's still very important to understand how the macro affects things. Whereas now it's easier to understand, hey, SoFi is a decent investment right here because they have a tailwind of loan growth coming because of rate cuts. And if you don't understand the rate cut syllogism into loan growth, how can you understand why SoFi right now, even at $10, $11, is technically undervalued? You got to understand the macro for that stuff. I think that stuff still is important at the end of the day. Today is not my birthday. Thank you for everybody who's saying happy birthday or happy pre-birthday. My birthday is on Sunday. I will be live on Sunday to do the future show. So we'll go live on Sunday for a bit. But yeah, my birthday, 27th birthday, will be on Sunday, which will be cool. We will turn 27. How many shares does she have? I think Kathy has 8 million shares of Tesla, something like that. So let's actually check right now. ARK Holdings. I haven't looked at it in a while. ARK Holdings. How many shares do we have of Tesla? Palantir is also getting up there in the top 10, I think. Yeah, Palantir's number 5. So let's take a look at this because we haven't looked at this in a while. By the way, Steve said no bueno. All right, so Steve can't make it today. I called him yesterday. He was excited to be on, but corporate life is corporate life. So not today. So hopefully we'll have him on Monday or earlier next week. So Tesla is 3.2 million shares, not 8 million. She might have some more in the other ETFs, but it seems like the bulk of it in ARK KK, 3.2 million. Roku is still 8 million shares. That's a very interesting one. Coinbase at 2.1 million, Roblox 8.2 million, Palantir 6.9 million. Remember, Kathy Wood had 37 million shares of Palantir back in February 2022. Liquidated at $12, bought Roku with that money. We've seen what has happened since then, but she got back in with about 7 million shares. Square, 4 million shares. Robinhood, she has 10 million shares. CRISPR, 5.3. Shopify, 2.7. UiPath, 13 million shares. And then SoFi, I forgot she has SoFi, 7.6 million shares. I forgot Kathy does have SoFi. And also in ARK F, I think she has some more SoFi. So I think she has about 10 million shares of SoFi. She's been buying Amazon a lot more as well. 220,000 shares of Amazon. She has 14 million shares of Archer Aviation for those that care about the eVTOL space. Trade Desk, about 1 million shares. DraftKings, 3.4 million. And then Meta, she has another 228,000 shares of Meta as well. 30 years at 7.3. Yeah, those mortgage rates have gone higher. Those mortgage rates have indeed gone higher this week, and that's primarily based on that 10-year. Again, from the analysis I've been looking at, the 10 years up as well. The 10-year simply means that people are not that attracted right now to bonds, which is why they're selling them off, pushing yields higher. And that is competitive for stocks. But if you think the stock market's going to do decently, better than 4.2%, then although it creates competition, I don't know if that necessarily makes it harder for people to justify owning equities, especially if Q3 earnings and earnings in general live up to the hype. And so far, they have lived up to the hype. I mean, even Deckers yesterday, bro. Deckers are like, people are buying shoes. They're great. And so it's like this whole narrative around the consumer sucking. The consumer's fine, at least from the earnings that we're seeing right now. I'm really curious what Shopify is going to say because that's going to be a big one. But a lot of them are saying that we think things are not in a horrible situation. So let me read what exactly Decker said about the consumer right here. So this is what they said yesterday. Haka and UGG produced outstanding second quarter results driven by strong consumer demand for our innovative and unique products. As I step into the new CEO role, I'm committed to building our proven foundation to support growth, guided by our consumer-first mindset, brand-led philosophy, innovation-forward products, and globally driven focus. Our dedicated team's continued execution of Decker's long-term strategy as our company well-positioned to achieve an increased outlook for fiscal year 2025. So that first sentence, strong consumer demand, that's awesome. Last sentence, we are well positioned to achieve an increased outlook for fiscal year 2025. That is raising, not literally raising guidance, but raising the outlook for what 2025 should look like, making it better than 2024, which means the bull market might be able to continue momentum, at least in the context of Deckers. And if Deckers is able to do it, then the other company should be able to do it. So I said Haka wrong, right? It's what? It's Hoka? I don't care, dude. At the end of the day, people are buying Hakas, Hokas, Haktuas, whatever it is. They're buying them, and that's important. Chris says, Amit, show people the house I sent you. Okay, so Chris sent me a house right here in Jersey City. Chris, this is a little out of my budget, my guy. It's a little out of my budget. Hold on, what house is this that Chris just sent me? 1.6 million, bro. This is Chris, it's a little expensive, don't you think, brother? It's I don't think I'm in the magnitude yet to be buying a $1.6 million house. This is a nice house though, dude. Look at this. This is in Jersey City, which is close to New York. And this is like is this like a little bachelor pad? It's nice, dude. But Kris, what are you doing sending me $1.6 million houses, bro? It's a little out of the budget right now. At least right now. This is a nice house though, dude. This looks clean. Oh, look at that. Jersey City. Doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look too bad. 1.7 actually. Yeah, you're right. 1.7 actually. Yeah, Kris, I think this is what's the down payment on a $1.7 million house? It's at least, I mean, I know there's loopholes where you don't have to do a down payment, but if you have to do 20% on that, that is still some money that you would have to pay. 340 grand as a down payment. Yeah, that's a nice chunk of change for that. Is that Matt Money's beach house? Yeah, maybe that's the case. Kris, if you're here, let me yeah, Kris, come on to the show. I don't think Steve can make today. If you're free, let me send you the StreamYard. You can talk about why you think 1.7 million is decent, and we can just talk markets in general if you're free right now. So I'm sending you the link on WhatsApp if you can make it. What are you guys thinking about? Well, let's ask this question to the chat, because I don't think we've asked this question before. How many people in the chat actually own their own house? Like, I guess the nuance of this question is, how many people are in the midst of paying off their mortgage? How many people have paid off their mortgage? And then how many people are thinking of getting a new house? Let's do some euphoric bull market questions, because why not? It's been a good week. We can enjoy a little bit of euphoric bull market questions, right? What are you guys thinking when it comes to houses? I was here for Steve. I'm sorry, Steve got some meetings. He can't make it. He was excited yesterday because he hasn't been on the show for 2 weeks, but it looks like he's got meetings, which is why he can't make it right now. Harmsy is in the mortgage. Oh yeah, who's renting as well? Who's renting? Teja says I rent. We got a bunch of people renting. Do a poll. Oh yeah, do a poll. That's easier. Yeah, let me do a poll. Let's see what this looks like. So the categories here are going to be paid off house, paying off house, and then renting. Yeah, those are the three categories. Look, I want to move out hopefully by the end of 2025. That is my goal. And so I am trying to figure out how do I best navigate that. My goal is to actually get a property, get an apartment, and not really rent, because I'll be 28 by that point. I just wouldn't want to rent. And I'm also not going to go to New York City, where that's like the only place where renting would really make sense. If I'm in New Jersey, like I think I'll be able to manage a mortgage by the end of 2025. So that would be my goal. But 1.7 million's a little aggressive, bro. A little bit aggressive right here. John says I work at a firm that buys real estate highly leveraged. Yeah, there are a lot of firms out there that, instead of just working with margin in the stock market, they actually do it in the context of living wage. Yes, I should put the other category, live in mom's basement, and I would definitely click that category for those that are still living at home. Don't rent it, throwing away money. Yeah, that's what my dad says too. He's like so against renting, dude. He hates it. He hates it so much. Brandon says I own 4 houses, rent 3 of them. 3 of them pay for all 4, so I don't have a mortgage, and put the excess cash into the market. I love it. You know what my dad is? So my dad bought a property back in 2008, and it's worth close to 600 right now. And what he's thinking of doing is refinancing it and getting that 600. 300 would go to his brother, because him and his brother are 50-50 on it. 300 would go to him, and then they would just use the mortgage from the tenants to pay off the refinancing of it. But he wants rates to come down a little bit lower. And so if we get another 2 rate cuts by the end of the year, then 2025 January is when he's looking to do that. But I do think as rates come down, hopefully it's easier to do a lot of those refinancing, and hopefully it stimulates more housing demand, because as of now, it's been a little bit of a bear market, just given, everyone's waiting for rates to come down a little bit more. Dylan says, see, this is why you're the man. You're humble enough to that house cost, and not knowing you're going to have all that money with your head on your shoulders in 2 to 3 years. You're a boss amid. Yeah, I mean, look, I've never felt bad when people say you live at home with your parents. I mean, people can joke all they want, but at the end of the day, it's just, it saves money. And I would be pretty bored alone, in my own house at this age. I don't think I need to do that. And second of all, it's just different with Indian culture. You're not expected to move out at 18 years old or 19. It's a whole different dynamic. It's hard to explain it. And so, eventually I personally want to move out. And I think by the end of the next year, it'll be a good time at 28 years old. I'll be turning 28, but it's not like I'm going to rush to that. Also, I lived on my own in college for 4 years. So I enjoyed that life. It wasn't like I didn't have the opportunity to live on my own and experience a lot of things. And also, it's not like I have restrictions. Dude, I was in New York a couple weeks ago. I came back home at 3 a.m. Like, it's not like there's really that many restrictions as I'm living at home. It's just more opportunistic right now to actually stay at home. As Krupa says, Indian parents cry when kids move out. That is correct. But my parents are, like, I told them a couple months ago, I was like, all right, I'm ready to move out. And so they're ready for that as well. But it just, I didn't need to over the past couple of years. Okay, what are the polls? So 43% of you say paying off a house, 23% say paid off a house, 33% say renting. That's fair. That is fair as well. My rate is at 2.59%, paid off 30% so far. Will lean heavily towards investing over lump sum mortgage payments. Yeah, I mean, for the people that got those below 3% rates, just incredible, dude. Absolutely incredible. My parents, I don't think we got below 3%. We got like 3.5, but still, dude, pretty amazing. And I think that's also going to be interesting in 2025. Like, right now, a lot of people's net worth has gone up over the past 5 years as housing prices have gone up by I think our house was appreciated by 50%, or like not 50, probably like 35% in the past 4 years. So, but the problem is people don't want to sell because A, there's not that many people that want to buy it at this 7% mortgage rate. And then B, people don't want to buy houses that are expensive right now after they sell, and they don't want to go back to renting. So a lot of people are just playing this cat and mouse game of waiting until these rates come down lower to see how this would play out. Paid mortgage for a decade, sold it, and brought a crappier house with the equity. Not a bad situation either. Keep the Civic and save the down payment on the house. So I thought about the Civic Tesla decision a lot. I really don't think it's worth keeping the Civic at all. Like, $500 a month is not breaking the bank when it comes to paying for a Tesla, and 0% APR is a hell of a deal that I don't think is going to happen that often, along with the $9,500 in tax credits, along with the $15,000 I'm getting in terms of trading it. Dude, I bought my Honda Civic for $21,000 in 2019. I don't know how the hell they're giving me 15 grand for it. Like, the used car market must be exploding. And we actually saw that in the inflation data. See, this is another reason why macro is important, because I got the quote today. I was on the phone with the lady and she was like, yeah, we'll give you 15 grand. And I was like, dude, I bought this for 21 grand 5 years ago. You would think it depreciates more than that. And it's like, nope, they're willing to pay up 15. So I think it's the best time to trade in this car at this stage. And then, eventually I'm going to have my own family. I'm not going to have a Honda Civic with my own family. A Model Y, I feel like legitimately for the next 10 years, that could be a family vehicle as well. And so, that's not the worst thing in the world. That's kind of, Hondas have good resale value. I guess so. I was surprised, dude. 15 grand was like, I thought I would be like, my mom couldn't believe it. She was like, you're gonna get 5 grand. And then I showed her and she was like, all right, 15 grand is not too bad. Have some good memories in that Civic. I bought that Civic with my own hard-earned money back in 2019, put down the $5,000 down payment, and paid it off over the next 4 years as I was in college. So it was a good ride, but I do feel like it's time to move on from it and upgrade out of it. Houses are so expensive in California that they are not worth buying. Better off renting, cheaper over time. That's the same thing with New York. That's what I was talking to a friend who lives in New York, and he actually works at Palantir. And I was like, what do you think about buying in New York? And he started laughing. He was like, dude, there's no way. You've got to be in the $10 to $20 million of net worth to like really think of meaningfully buying in New York. Outside of that, it's just like, it's already hard enough to find a spot to rent in New York for, a relatively cheap price, which usually with a roommate is at least $6 grand. So you're paying $3 grand to buy a property in New York. It's tough. And I would imagine same thing in California. So that's another reason why I probably don't want to move to New York, but would like to be close to New York with Jersey City. What year is your Honda? 2019. 2019 is the Honda. Could you get a Cybertruck? No, I can't afford a Cybertruck, dude. It's like a Tesla Model Y is like in the budget and it's reasonable. I looked at the Cybertruck. I looked at the financing. I was like, I'm not paying $1,200 a month. Forget that's ridiculous. We're not doing that. So that would be cool though. That would be cool, dude. There's a lot in New Jersey, bro. Like I was going to the gym the other day. There's like so many of them just like in the parking lot. There's Model 3s everywhere, but Cybertruck. There's one, I told you guys, one, my neighbor like a couple blocks down bought it. And I don't know them. So I wish I knew them because then I would be like, yo, can I see it? Can I touch it? Can like we go for a ride? But I don't know them like that. But it's pretty cool. It looks pretty damn cool. Get a Model Y and put it on Steve's tab. You know, Steve hates Teslas. Ah, man, I wish I could call him right here. He's so against Teslas. He owns Tesla stock, but he does not like Teslas. Like, I remember a year ago when I was telling him to buy a Tesla, he was just like, I love gas guzzlers. And I was like, all right, buddy, I guess you enjoy going to the gas station and filling up the pump. All right, Kris said I can't join StreamYard, but I can call him. So let's give a phone call to Mr. Kris Patel, who will be joining the Friday edition of the Market Close.
Dude.
What's up, Kris? How are you?
Yeah, I figured I'd send you a house that was a little bit motivational. You know, I got it in the mail, so I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna need a little bit of motivation to keep going. And I think a house like that would be something that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, as soon as I clicked it, I thought this would be like 600,000, 500,000, like 1.7 million. I was like, oh, okay, Kris. Kris is thinking on a different level right now.
Hey man, you're doing well in the market. You know, Palantir's doing well. You've got your SoFi position doing well. Robinhood's doing well. I mean, bro, you're only a king if you live in a castle, right? So,
all right. So, I want to talk to you about this market. We're ending out the week, not at all-time highs, but equities are doing well. We got an election coming up. What is your personal strategy that you've been deploying over the past week, and what do you expect going into the next 2 weeks?
I don't know, man. I mean, there's just like one play that I've been kind of like in a little bit. I don't know if you saw it, but with the whole Kalshi thing. So I've been betting heavily on Kamala.
Well, hold on. What does heavily mean? Like, how much money are you?
I mean, not heavily. Like $1,000.
Okay, so that's not.
It's not heavily. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like a joke bet at this point. It's just a theory bet, but I put about $1,000 towards it.
How much do you win if she wins?
So it would be like profit would be like 1.5, like so like a double. You know, so I'd end up with like $2,500.
Okay, cool. So outside of the election stuff, are you hedging your portfolio going into the election?
Not really. There doesn't seem that there's a lot of weakness out there. My portfolio is pretty hedged already. I mean, you know me. I have a lot of fixed income stuff now. I did really well this year, so I'm trying to figure out my tax situation. Like honestly,
so give us a gist of what do you mean by you did really well this year? How are you? What do you mean by that? And yeah, how are you navigating taxes? I think it actually will be good for people to kind of hear it, because I know some people are sitting on gains, right? What you're thinking of from a tax perspective.
So the first thing I did was I called my accountant. You know, I went over all the details with him. I said, look, this is how much I have in short-term gains this year that I already realized, because there were a couple of things that I did well, very short-term, that I was just like, look, the value's there. Traditionally, I like holding over a year, but sometimes, you know, it's just, you just got to get out of it. You know, like you saw my TFC, like I got a little out of it a little early. I got out of SoFi, remember earlier?
Yeah.
When I went up. So the thing is, like, sometimes when you actually do take some profits and stuff, like that's one of the things you have to do. You have to account for the taxes. I also sold my condo in New York, so I have that. So I have a lot of income this year, and so I've already redeployed a lot of that income to like more fixed income stuff, so that now I have like a nice extra steady source of income. But once again, like that source of income gets taxed also, right? So if you buy something that's like interest bearing, then you're gonna have to pay personal taxes on it, like ordinary income. But if you buy it with like a qualified dividend, like something like Verizon, then you get a more preferential treatment. One of the challenges that I'm having right now is that, like, before, my condo served as my like tax, not want to say a tax haven, but basically I was able to deduct a lot of the stuff from taxes. Like, so my mortgage interest, my property taxes, all those things, and those added up to a good amount of money that I was able to kind of deduct from my top line, right? So the way our tax system works is that your top line income as you make more money, you're going to be paying more of that money to taxes. So, right now I don't want to brag, but like I'm at like the highest tax bracket now. So I have to be even more tax efficient than everyone else, because anytime I take a gain on anything, I'm going to pay more. So one of the things I'm looking at right now is buying some property. I originally I was hoping that property prices would come down, in which case I could buy something, but I realized even if we do get a correction in my local area, it's not going to be more than like 10%, because the median incomes for so many people have jumped up like crazy in my area. So before, I honestly, I thought that the price of homes would come down significantly. And in some parts of the country, they're definitely coming down. So like Texas and Florida and stuff. But the thing is, I would also look at the median income in the area that you're looking at. So like Atlanta, I'm not sure if people here know, but Atlanta is like growing like crazy when it comes to its tech hub. Like it's like Microsoft, Google, all of them they have like multiple campuses on here. Like we have Georgia Institute of Technology here, which is like, I wouldn't call it the MIT of the South, but I mean, it's pretty up there. So like, I told my wife, I said, honey, like we're probably going to overpay for the house by a little bit, and the mortgage rate that we're going to get is not going to be the greatest. But if we like something, it's for our home, like we should just buy it. And I spoke to my loan officer, and my loan officer is like, yeah, man, we'll give you like a one-time like refinance for free, because usually you have closing costs when you do a refi. But if they can do that for free, then that means that you're not taking on any additional issues with that. So right now, my goal is, number one, get myself into a property that, one, hedges me against some inflation.
But you want to get that property before the year ends, right? Or
not really before the year ends. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like whether it's year end or like January, February, whatever, it's not going to matter. I'm only going to be able to take a lot of those deductions when I start paying like the interest on the mortgage. So, even if like, let's say I bought it tomorrow and I was trying to like write off the mortgage interest, I can't go backwards. I have to just only take like November and December. So that's not the issue. My biggest issue right now is making sure I get the lowest rate possible, but also put down the lowest amount of down payment as possible. So, because the thing is, like my total portfolio returns, I can generate in excess of that.
That's the fun thing about the market. Is like every time I think of paying off something early, I'm like, if I'm not getting charged interest on it, I know what else to do with the money, right? And a lot of people here in the chat, they know what to do with their money. So it doesn't necessarily make sense to not have debt when you actually know what to do with the debt.
Yeah. I mean, like, let's say I get a mortgage right now for 6%, right? Which was what I'm probably going to end up paying. So 6%. Now, my marginal tax bracket between Georgia and federal, like at the top line, is like almost like 40 something percent now, because I'm at the highest for federal and I'm at the highest for Georgia. So that means that if I get a mortgage interest tax deduction, and if my house is worth less than $750,000, that entire interest payment, because all the interest is front loaded, you're getting almost like a 40% discount on it. Right. So even though I'm quote unquote paying 6%, if you take 40% of 6%, you're essentially going much lower. So right now, if I don't have that deduction, I'm basically just paying Uncle Sam that 40, and Georgia versus O'Brien Kemp, like that 40%, without having to get anything from it. With a property, you're going to have that property appreciate in value. And the other thing is, I'm looking at a property that's in a really good school district in Georgia that's very convenient to downtown. So it's one of those areas that's like very limited in terms of future development also, because it's like in a suburb, it's a single family area. Like, the neighbors are very like, how do I say it? The neighborhood is very exclusive, but that exclusivity also comes with future price appreciation. Because the one thing you'll learn, real estate, there's never a perfect time to buy real estate. Like a lot of times you can try to like wait until like a 2008 kind of event, but it rarely comes by. Instead, you're better off, especially from a tax efficiency standpoint and from a primary home address standpoint, you're better off making sure that you buy something so that this way in the future, you can write off a lot of the stuff that comes with owning a property.
So would you, there's tons of properties in Georgia that are like 2-3 million, and they're, you know, a Georgia property at 2-3 million is way different than a New York City property at that price. Would you at all think that's advantageous or no?
So there's a couple of really big drawbacks when you buy something that's over like 750,000. First of all, your mortgage interest tax deduction, you can only do up to $750,000 of that mortgage amount, right? So if you, let's say, do 2 million, you can't use that other $1 million or that 1.25 million for that mortgage interest tax deduction. So basically, you would be paying that mortgage interest, but you're not going to get that as a deduction on your taxes. Right. So from a tax efficiency standpoint, it wouldn't make sense to buy something too big. The other thing is that when you buy something that's really, really big, all the costs associated with buying that property are going to be magnified also. So heating and cooling a $2 million house, like a giant house, you're going to be paying so much. And right now it's just me and my wife. Best thing to do is to buy something that's in a good location, that has a burgeoning population, where the median income is growing exponentially, and something that's convenient for you and the family and all that good stuff. And then also in a good school district. So in the future, when you're trying to, like, let's say, upgrade or downsize or whatever, you can find a buyer quicker and easier than if you were to buy it in something that's a little bit more run down. Like, the other option, of course, is to buy something in an area that's like up and coming or it's gentrifying, and that will give you like capital appreciation. The problem with buying something like that is, though, you're taking like risk in terms of like your personal safety, right? Because a lot of those neighborhoods are not exactly like the best places that you want to be. Like, so here's an example. Like, when I moved to my neighborhood in Brooklyn, it wasn't the greatest area to live in. But for me, I was a young kid. I was 20, I was 23 at the time. So I could take a little bit of my own risk, like my own personal safety risk. I could watch my back a little bit more, blah, blah, blah. I could deal with it. I'm not going to put my wife through that, So
let me ask you this question in the chat. Jordan says right here, I'm renting right now, but I'm so torn between buying a place and having to put a down payment on a house when I know I can make at least 30 to 40% on that money in the market. His portfolio is about a little bit over 100,000. What would be your suggestions there? Should he keep renting and use the money in the markets, or buy the house?
I mean, a lot of this stuff is going to be like a personal decision and a personal choice on everyone's part. 100K is, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but it's not a lot of money.
No, like, that's fair. 100,000 portfolio is not a huge sum of money. I think that's objective.
Right. Yeah. And so renting for most people would probably be a better option. The real question that you should be asking yourself is, how much money are you paying in taxes? And would it be advantageous to have a property which you can use as a way of, reducing down your taxes? Like right now, I'm telling you, if I don't buy a house right now, and if I don't have mortgage interest, I don't have property taxes that I can deduct, all that stuff, and I just live in my condo, yes, I'm getting to keep all of my money, but then 40% of it is going to go to Uncle Sam at the top portion of it. Wow. And me and my wife, we have a lot in W-2 income. So it's one thing. It's not even like we can get away from this fucking thing. It's
that's another thing. If you have your own LLC, so I realized this year, I was texting you about this. I can deduct in a solo 401k $65,000 off my gross income, off my LLC. Yeah. And so I'm taking advantage of that. It's probably not gonna be 65, it'll be like 40,000 for me, but that's a big benefit that W-2 people don't necessarily take advantage of. Now there's other benefits they get, but
we have some benefits. Like my wife has her employer, like she has her 403B. I have a 403B because we both work at hospitals. So the 403B contributions from the employee side, we are max, like me and her are going to max it out. But once again, our W-2 income is just very, very high. And it's not like we can navigate around it. If you got paid, like, so if you look at like how executive comp works, that's why a lot of people, they like getting paid in shares, right? So if you get paid in shares and they appreciate, you can just put that in a brokerage and then take a loan against those shares, and you never really have to pay the taxes on the sale of that. Right. So right now, there's the reason why you're seeing a lot of executive compensation that's like they're take home pay, like quote unquote, their just cash pay is like
It's like $81,000 or some stupid shit. Yeah.
Yeah, like 500,000. But then you look at their share-based compensation, and that shit is like 5 million, or 23 million, and it's fucking nuts. But that's the thing. Like, so right now, me and the wife, we're high earners. We don't have a lot of deductions right now, so we need to kind of like maximize that. And then also, we want to make sure that we're buying an asset that, well, number one, we can live in. Like right now, me and her, our condo is nice. It's like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, like nice place. We've got like, it's a really nice place. But the problem is we've kind of outgrown it a little bit. Like I actually want to, make like a podcast, like a proper podcast studio. I'd like to hopefully one day invite you guys, Matt Money.
Dude,
Adam,
you know what we need to do?
and all these guys. Yeah.
I was going to text you this, but I'll say it publicly. You know what we need to fucking do, Kris? You're not going to
Yeah.
agree with this, and the wife's probably not going to let you do this. But I'm telling you right now, bro, I'm about to share my screen right here. I'm telling you, if we do this, I think we're going to win.
Okay.
But we need to actually be able to do this. I think we need to, I think you need to move to New Jersey, and we need to, you see this on my screen? Are you on YouTube?
No, I'm logged off of YouTube.
Okay, so you know the Compound and Friends, right?
Yeah.
Josh Brown and the other guy?
Yeah.
I think we need to start that podcast in person in the studio together. I think that shit would go to the moon. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
You and me with a guest every week or every day, if we go back to like the Finance Junkie style, 4 times a week, I really think that could take off in person. It's a better vibe. This Zoom podcasts suck. But like either I have to go to Georgia or you have to come here. And that's the hard part.
Brother, man, I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. If I was in my 20s, like early 20s, even like mid 20s, I would be right there with you. I'd be like, fuck it, let's go. Like, I'll fucking just move to Jersey and we'll figure this out, right? The thing is, now I'm at a point where I'm almost 40. I have a wife. I have like all this.
But the wife would she be opposed to New Jersey completely? You can afford to live in Jersey.
I'm opposed to New Jersey.
Why are you opposed to New Jersey?
So a couple of things. Number one, I have family and friends like in Georgia now. Like my brother lives in Savannah. I have all my friends now I've made are in Georgia. The other thing is like my in-laws and like my extended family on my wife's side, they all live here as well. So number one, I kind of want to be closer to them. The other thing is I'm just not a big fan of the taxes up there, bro. Like you will not believe how much. You won't believe how much New York City is effing me this year on taxes. Like I see right now I'm going next year. I'm going to be paying Georgia taxes. Okay. This year I'm paying New York City taxes. I'm paying New York State taxes.
Well, on your property or because your job is in New York, right?
Right. But I maintain most of my residence because I was flying back and forth in New York. So my tax domicile, my primary address is still New York. So like right now I've been able to switch it out because now I'm permanently in Georgia. So like I said, it's a whole convoluted thing. But dude, the Northeast, man, they just fuck you on taxes, and then the property taxes are gonna come at you. So it's just Jersey is just not where I see myself being long term. Now here's the thing: if you do a podcast studio, bro, I'll fly into fucking Newark and I'll stay a couple of days, Like you don't need to have like every single, like I don't mind flying in and flying out.
You got to come in every Friday to do the episode like that. Dude, the Compound and Friends, like I like there's a lot of finance podcasts. That podcast, not Josh Brown and Michael Batnick are amazing hosts and they're very knowledgeable. But the setup, the studio, the guests, the charts on the screen, like I'm sure they have 7 to 8 people working behind stage to make that a legit production. I really want to do something like that for finance, but I need like a perfect co-host, to do it with. Yeah. So it would be awesome.
Hey, listen, I'm used to flying, brother. I don't mind flying one bit, So if it's especially if it's only for like a couple of days, bro, I will fuck. The flight between Atlanta and Jersey, like Newark, is not exactly that bad. It's only like an hour and some change. Like I don't mind driving to the airport, flying over, staying overnight, and then coming back. And the wife is probably cool with it too. So if you want to actually get this shit rolling, I can guarantee you at least 2 days a month, or like 2 weekends a month where I can do something like this.
That's actually, look, I've been really thinking of the idea a lot. Cause look, I think we would do it live on my channel, and the live streams on the Market Open, Market Close are already bringing in, a decent amount of people, and that community is strong and it's growing. If we offered a product like this, I think like it would just be something really cool,
It's all tax deductible to travel, baby. I'm going for a business purpose. So I don't mind it.
That's another reason I'm thinking of getting a property in Jersey City, not the $1.7 million one, but if I could use that as a studio as well and a living address, it's a business, it's a place of residence, but also a place of work. And if I could have a legit podcast studio, bro, I feel like that's something that would be so cool and special with an actual team that's helping me like make the content in a professional way. A, it just helps diversify the brand, but B, it helps get the bigger guests like the Tom Lees of the world and all those people that in person you get to connect with versus doing it over Zoom,
Yeah, brother. You definitely need to get that ball rolling sooner rather than later. If you're looking for growth, you're going to need to do in-person stuff eventually anyway, and having your own area where there's I'm sure that you've noticed this when you did your pods with Vlad, there's a element of being in person that
you can't beat it. You can't beat it.
Yeah.
You can't beat it.
You can't beat it with trying to do it. We've been doing finance junkies. We did, we do all this pods and stuff. But the thing is, if you're trying to grow yourself, you gotta commit to something like that where you're actually doing. And not to mention, I'm sure you'll get to the point where you're going to be traveling around the country too. And then you'll have a host. The one good thing that I will say that that you have in Jersey that I don't have in Atlanta is that because you're in the finance space, there's a lot of people that
have access to all the guests. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you can't do that anywhere else. Like if you need to do like a social media kind of podcast thing, you want to be in fucking California because that's where all like the major influencers are. But if you're trying to do something finance, you got to be in the Northeast.
I agree.
So,
I feel like it's the logical next step, dude. I really do.
Yeah, I honestly think you should. You should also talk to Bergman. I'm sure Bergman will come on once in a while too, man.
But see, that's the other thing. A lot of us actually are in the Northeast, like Steve. Like it's like there's a whole host of people that could be revolving guests or revolving co-hosts. And like when I shook Vlad's hand in person, it's a different relationship. When I met Sham Sankar in person, it's a different it's one of those things where when you do it in person, you actually develop a connection with people. And they're more likely to introduce you to other people. Like Lex Friedman, the reason his guests are amazing is because when he meets one of them, they introduce him to someone else and they make a connection. And then it's like, it happens that way. So,
it happened with you and Vlad. You met Vlad and then it kind of snowballed into like other people that Vlad is connected to. Dude, you got to see I don't know if he's a CEO or co-founder, but one of the co-founders of the hottest app in the finance space on your freaking morning show.
What are you talking about? Call Sheet. Dude, hold on. I want to say something about this. When at the end of that stream, there were some comments in the live chat. I didn't say that day, but some of you guys thought that was a sponsored stream or that they fucking paid to be on the show. I texted him at 2:30 in the night before the market opened. And I was like, hey, dude, like your app's blowing up. Do you want to be on the show? And then he responded like 4 hours later, like 6 a.m. He was like, yeah, sure. And that's how that happened. So
dude, the guy looked like he was half asleep.
Dude, they're getting 130,000 users a day. Like he doesn't have time to do this stuff, but obviously he knows that as a startup founder, the more distribution you can get, the better. But yeah, there was no payment for him to be on the show. They don't need my market open to grow their app,
Yeah, exactly. No, I think what it is people are recognizing the value that your presence brings to not only their brand, but also there's a giant retail community that's looking for content. You ask the right questions. I think that's what people really should take away from what you're doing, which is you've got a way of asking questions that brings out good information and you're able to extract value. And it's not a talent that a lot of people have because I've seen that where people will interview people, but you fall asleep within the first 5 minutes. You definitely don't have that going for you. So I would say the next logical step is buying a property, even if it's a shitty property that you need to rehab. Buy it, make sure it's convenient for people to get to it. Because you don't want to buy it somewhere where the guests have to take 2 different trains to get to.
Right.
It's somewhere near a path train stop where literally they can go and, come down from the city, it takes them an hour, 2 hours to get back. Or they can take an Uber from one of the path train stops or from the city into the area. And yeah, you'll be rolling through a lot of guests, bro. And like I said, if you want, I don't mind coming by once or twice a month. I'll just fly over. You know, I think it's cheap for me. You know, it's flying right now, by the way, is super cheap. Like,
why?
It's really nice. One of the major things is because of the lack of business travel and the capacity, like post-COVID, you're starting to see a lot more people starting to come back a little bit, but there's still a lot of excess space. And then jet fuel prices have come down significantly also. So, you know, if you look at the flights, like right now, especially if you book it early enough, it's actually pretty decent. Like maybe a couple of $100. I mean, it's not that expensive to me, you know. So, I mean, I'm definitely going to fly fucking coach. I'm not flying no business class flights. So even, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still a greedy dude. But I will stay at Isle. Have you ever been to the one thing I got to tell you? What kind of a credit card do you have right now? You just use the Robinhood card?
No, dude, I use the Chase one. I'm still not approved for it, but I think I'm going to get approved for it soon based on some information that I got. So hopefully I can use that. But yeah, right now it's Chase.
Bro, you need to either get the Chase Sapphire Platinum one. I mean, the Chase Sapphire or the Amex Platinum. They come with pretty hefty fees up front, where you know it's like an annual fee. But dude, the benefits are just out of this world, man. Like if you're flying out of an airport, you can go to like the lounges.
Right.
Amex have their own lounges. The Sapphire Lounge at LaGuardia, I just went to it last time, bro. It is awesome. It's like,
Do they give massages?
Huh? Yeah, I got a massage. They have massages
incredible.
now. They have showers now. They've got, you know, all sorts of like other things too, man.
Okay, so let me ask you this question because we were talking about taxes. I want to go back to that. Trump came out yesterday. He didn't say this, but it was reported. He's thinking of getting rid of the federal income tax.
Yeah, it never happened. There's just too much.
Why? Why can't we dream and go back to the founding fathers' ideas around taxes? Why can't it happen?
Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, our national debt is freaking out of this world. Like if you take away the income tax, like the federal income tax, you would basically bankrupt the country within like 2 years, right? Because at that point, where's the government money going to come from? From sales?
It'll come from tariffs.
No, it's not. There's not enough money that's gonna be able to do that. So no, it's not gonna work. All right. The other thing is he can say whatever he wants to on the campaign trail, just like Kamala Harris can say whatever the hell they want to about we're gonna give you free shit, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. They all know it's all horse shit because the minute they get in power, they understand that it's not the executive branch that controls taxes. It's the legislative branch. The House and Senate are where you're gonna figure out how to spend the money for the country and how to create laws around taxes. All this bullshit that all these politicians they come up with when they're trying to get elected, they'll say whatever they need to get elected. So Trump right now is proposing the idea of no federal income tax. That's completely BS. Like even he knows it would never work. But hey, I mean, when you're trying to win, you're trying to win, you know? So
what do you think about the SALT restrictions?
I mean, they're expiring next year after the Trump tax cuts, they go away. I mean, you know, this is one of those things that's weird, but blue states benefit from all this additional salt tax, right? Because they pay the highest state and local taxes. The red states are the ones that really don't benefit as much from the salt taxes, but the Democrat Party is all about taxing like the rich. But it's such a weird thing. It's probably like one of the weirdest parts to being a Democrat, which is you're actually voting. If let's say you vote against the salt tax restrictions, you're voting against what your party stands for. Because so many people right now, they get a salt tax, you know, which is like state and local. So, but it's capped at $10,000. So the main beneficiaries of a salt tax in restriction, like removing it, would be people that are millionaires and above. Like I would benefit, right? Because I'm going to be paying a shit ton in state and local taxes. Like right now, my property taxes, if I buy this property and it's like $18,000, I can't deduct more than 10.
How much do you think you're paying in taxes this year? Like 300 grand, more than that?
Bro, I don't even want to know right now. Like like someone was on the Patreon, right? And they were like, oh, you know, Robinhood lets you like check your, because before you have to wait until the end of the year for your you know, like unrealized losses to come out, so or unrealized gains and losses, so this way you can, you know, figure out that stuff. So I was like, but Robinhood now lets you look. And I looked at it and I was like, no, I thought I sold that last year. Like, no, I didn't sell it. Like, but I didn't realize that I sold it like early in this year.
Yeah.
So now I didn't realize it, but I have a buck ton in short-term gains. It's like, and you know, it's funny. My accountant was like, do you have anything that you want to sell that's like a loss? I'm like, I wish I did, man. The only thing I have, and this is good, and I'm sure that the chat is going to go wild. Most of my losses this year have come from fucking snowflakes.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
most of my losses have come from snowflake.
At least it's done something good for you here.
Well, I still have a position in Snowflake, which I'm probably gonna sell just to basically, get the tax benefit by getting rid of it. But I'll probably buy back in again in the future. But yeah, that's my only major, like, giant loss that I have this year.
Yeah.
I definitely missed out on some gains on some stuff too, so that does feel a little bit painful. But at the same time, like, I have to remind myself, is like, you do realize that like the money that you took from selling something early, you deployed it in something else that generated an even bigger return.
Yeah, I mean, if you're scared about how many taxes you're going to pay, there's no FOMO you should be having over a missed opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. So I think what it is when you sell something, when you generate that that taxable thing, you also have to remember, like, okay, if I pay 40% of it, and then I, at the end of the year, I need to make sure that whatever I put my money into is generating even more, And so luckily I did have some really good calls on things. So it did work out well for me, but I definitely need to figure out ways to not sell things too early and be more tax efficient. But we'll see what happens.
So here's the last question I want to ask you, and I think the chat should answer this question as well. By the way, shout out to Deepin. He says, amid 10 p.m. here in the UK, having a brandy and listening to you guys. Appreciate you and Kris. Thank you, Deepin, for being here on the show today. So this is a question I've been asking a lot of people, and I think I asked the chat a couple episodes ago. But what are your personal and professional goals going into 2025? And what steps are you going to take in November and December to set yourself up to begin accomplishing those goals in January versus thinking of them in January? And I want the chat to answer this as well, if you guys have answers.
Yeah. So from a personal standpoint, I'd say, me and the wife, we've been trying to have kids. We didn't go the IVF route, so we might end up going the IVF route now. And seeing how that works out. So that's like, like trying to have kids is definitely like a goal. Buying a house this year, that's another goal. Other than that, there's just not very many. I mean, losing some weight because I have, because of
me too.
My stress situation, I gained some weight. So definitely, like, there's always a chance to improve your physical appearance. I want to take that opportunity. I want to try to develop a more rigid routine, yeah, because that's the thing. Like, I realize that I'm very all over the place sometimes, and so
well, it doesn't help that you got the night shift now, right? That kind of messed it up too.
Yeah, definitely that threw it off. But I'm getting to the point on my night shift where I'm getting used to it and I can work around it. And also, I told you my biggest headache last year was dealing with all the property sale in New York, because I was going back and forth, and then I still had a tenant at one point. I didn't have a tenant last year, but the year before that, so I was dealing with tenant stuff. So all of that stress is gone now. So I don't have all of that extra BS in my brain anymore. My work, like, I'm no longer in the zone of trying to do better professionally at work anymore. Like, I'm happy where I'm at.
Because you don't care if you get fired, basically.
I wouldn't say I don't care if I get fired. I would just say in terms of like professional development, I'm at a level that I'm comfortable with for being at for the next 20, 30 years if I have to be, So I just don't like, one of the things I did is I have some licenses that allowed me to, because I was an X-ray tech, CT tech, MRI tech in the past. I made a conscious decision to let my registrations expire this year. And the reason why I did that is because I could have kept it going. I just did the continuing education and all that stuff. But I realized that I don't want to do that anymore. And the thing is, like, having it only like made me feel like in the back of my brain, like, oh, I could just go back to doing that again. I'm like, no, like, I don't want to go back to doing that anymore. I'm happy I did it for the time that I did it. It's not a requirement for my job right now because I'm no longer in a clinical setting. I'm more in an IT setting, and that's not a job requirement anymore for me to have those licenses. So I let those expire. Just from a professional standpoint, I don't want to advance any further than I am in my job. I know that this is and I'm sure the people in the chat, you can disagree with me when you're listening, but at some point, I'm sure that you guys realize, like, hey, I don't want to be a freaking like manager or a senior manager, or I don't want to be a VP, or I don't want to be the CEO of this organization I'm in and like give up what semblance of happiness that I have.
And it's easier given you're an investor. The goal of being a senior manager is to make more money at the end of the day. But, if you're an investor and you can do that outside of climbing the corporate ladder, then maybe it's okay.
Yeah. So like right now, like my income sources have kind of like, multiplied from like 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now it's like, like the goal in life for everyone should be to basically be happy. Right. And if your only goal is, hey, the only way I'm going to be happy is I want to be in charge of people. That's fine. Like, go ahead and do that. I didn't find the joy in that, or I didn't want to manage people because it takes a certain level of patience. It takes a certain level of, I don't even know how to describe it, but the one thing, like, you got to give guys like Alex Karp and all these business leaders that are in leadership positions a little bit of credit, is that they've been able to survive all the stress that comes with being in charge of a large organization. Like, it's not easy, dude. Like, I know a lot of people think like, oh, being a CEO of a company is easy. No, like it's easy if you don't give a shit. Okay. It's really easy if you don't give a shit about your employees. But if you give a shit about your employees, you give a shit about your company, you give a shit about, the people around you, it's stressful because the entire time you wake up in the morning, you're thinking about all the people under you. You go to sleep at night, you think about all the people under you. If you have shareholders, you're worried about the fucking shareholders and you're stressing about that BS. So, dude, like you look at freaking Elon Musk. This guy, I don't know how he sleeps. But then again, he has to take ketamine, right?
Dude, he was playing Diablo after the earnings call. Like, I don't get it. It's pretty incredible. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so outside of the job, from a professional perspective, are there any investing goals in 2025?
One of the things I've been really trying to get my brain around is 2025 going to be a correction year? Or is it going to be another like stellar year like we had before?
Okay,
like,
before you give your analysis, gut feeling, 2025 correction or good year? Gut, just what do you think?
I want to call it the catch-up year. I think it's the catch-up year.
So good year then, right?
Good year, but if you're positioned correctly in the right asset classes and the right companies, I think you'll do well. And then even if you're an index investor, you have to be in the right indexes also. Because if you're looking at just purely large cap, most of the gains on the large cap has primarily come from the major guys like your NVDAs, your Googles, your Microsoft, all of them, they did really well. But now you're starting to see the rally broaden out a little bit. So I definitely look at some of the more small and mid cap areas. So my thinking is, number one, I want to diversify a little bit more outside of just these big guys. Even though they're great businesses, their valuations are, relatively high. So you want to kind of hedge a little bit by saying, okay, where are some of the other opportunities? So me, I've taken a position in China a little bit. So emerging markets, I want to be in something like that a little bit to hedge against, just one portfolio focus. I also am a little bit more in like some of the smaller cap plays that I have. Me, I'm big on the cruise lines. They're still got a couple of years to catch up. So I'm still heavily in the cruise lines. So yeah, there's definitely pockets of opportunity out there. But in terms of like, hey, you've got Google or you've got, Amazon or Microsoft. They've been completely sold off, and you can buy them at $80 or like a single digit PE like we did with Meta. Those
It's not happening.
Dude, that's that was just on another level. I'm also, and this is something that I'm really, really researching a lot, which is 25 going to be the year that the AI bubble pops? Okay. We all have to get into the zone of thinking that AI is a bubble. It will pop. We just don't know when it's going to happen. And how do you best position yourself from a risk standpoint not to be caught up in it? And the bubble can get, bigger and bigger all the way until, whenever it pops. But you're seeing eye-watering valuations starting to hit the venture market for a lot of these companies where talk about no revenue. Dude, some of these guys are just like, hey, I used to work at OpenAI. Okay, here's $1 billion. Like,
that's literally what's happened. Yeah.
Like, you have no product, you have no team, you have no infrastructure, but hey, I worked at OpenAI, so I'm getting $1 billion valuation. That kind of thinking is like 2000 bubble kind of thinking, where it's like, oh, I have a website. Okay, here's $100 million,
Yeah.
So whenever you start to see that kind of pop up, you should, I'm not saying you should just get out of AI in general, but you should also at the same time be like, hey, listen, what's going on here?
The only thing is that hasn't fully made its way into the public markets. Like when Databricks IPOs and they have the liquidity, that's when I'm like, all right, things are getting a little up there. But so far it's reserved in private markets, which I agree with you. But when it gets into the public markets, maybe in 2025, I think we got to take a second look at it as well.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, this is the nature of how tech works, right? It always has this zone where things get really good. New startups come. It revolutionizes things. Then there's a crap ton of money that just gets dropped onto them without any source of, hey, is this something that's gonna survive in the future? And the thing is, remember the time there's. What was this? Was it George Soros or Druckenmiller that said this? You can make money on bubbles 3 times. One, during the stage where things are inflating. You can make money where things are going down, and then you can make a crap ton of money on the consolidation and recovery period, right?
Yeah.
But you have to be correctly positioned for those 3. So, number one, I'm keeping my eye on the market in general. Just getting feedback from some major investors. I want to keep an eye on their portfolios, because when I usually see them dumping, it's like, okay, a sign that this could possibly be a top. I'm not saying that you should do it based on one guy. Like if Bill Ackman sold everything, you should sell everything. Like, no, but if you start to see like these big guys start to sell out of these positions, you should ask yourself like, why?
So I agree with you, but I do think 2025 is not when that bubble begins to pop. I think FSD, robotics, a lot of that starts to take place in 2025. And with Druckenmiller saying, when he talks, we got to listen, right? Him saying it was a mistake to sell NVIDIA at 90. It kind of does feel like 2025 is going to be okay, but 2026, 2027, yeah, there might be some issues there.
Like I said, this is the thing. Like when it comes to investing, and especially in markets like this, like I said, it's like a game of musical chairs, right? Where we know that the music is eventually going to stop playing. The question is, when do you want to, stop playing? Because at some point, you don't want to get out of it too quickly. Otherwise, you won't be able to participate in the market's upside. But you also don't want to be the last guy waiting for that one chair while everyone else has got a chair already.
So let me ask you this question, because this has to do with this whole AI valuation thing. So Perplexity, everyone knows the startup. They rumored to get a $9 billion valuation on Monday. So they were doing 250 million queries in July per month. Today, CEO comes out and says now they're doing 100 million queries a week. So call it 80% growth. Now they're doing 400 million queries a month. Next stop, he wants to do 100 million queries a day, which would be 3 billion queries a month. I mean, look, that is insane growth. And could you say, look, Perplexity doesn't make any money, but you could see how they go from 3 billion to 9 billion just off that growth alone. Does that make sense to you?
It could. With tech, you never really know what the total market potential is going to be. You also have to remember Google is on the opposite side of that, because everything that you're doing with Perplexity, you're taking away from.
So that's my next question. When you see this stat, what do you think of Google when I tell you this? Because it makes me scared for Google, to be honest.
I'm not that worried, to be honest, because I tried using Perplexity. For some reason, I just don't feel as I don't know how to describe it. Like, it just doesn't feel as comfortable for me as Google does. But then again, like, maybe I'm just the old bear that, you know, that's used to using one thing. So as I get older, I realize that I'm becoming less innovative myself. So
but less about what you use from an investing perspective.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'd have to defer to guys like you and younger people and finding out what they like, you know, and what you got, because you guys are the next generation. Like, dude, I remember when I was in your age, I found Google. I started using Google very early, you know, in like 1999, 2000. So the question isn't, you shouldn't be asking me or someone in their 50s or 60s. You should be asking the 20-year-olds, like, what's the hottest thing you're seeing in your sector right now? You know, like, what are these 20-year-olds doing? Are they using Google or are they using Perplexity?
No one's using Google, dude. Everyone's using ChatGPT from my circle. But it begs the question, does that mean that Google's market share is going away? And it's hard to see the type of growth that Perplexity is putting up and saying that's not going to put a dent into Google, which it's technically not going to put a dent into Google yet. But if it does, you know, the
question is, are they innovators or are they disruptors? You know, right. and how are they going to be able to kind of navigate that? Because, like I said, I'm in my personal opinion, I still stick to just Google. I don't really use Perplexity. I don't use a lot of these. I don't use ChatGPT other than maybe just you know, like correcting grammar or something, or, you know, because I found that there's just still too many hallucinations that don't give me the data that I want. I still like getting the 10 blue links where I search for like news on something and I get like a whole bunch of publications and I click on it and I actually read the publication and understand it. I don't like the concept of, you know, using AI to basically summarize something and then you miss an important detail that was in the original content that may or may not be presented in the front end of that AI. But then again, like I'm like that guy that, remember when we were in the 20s that were like, hey, I'm gonna go read the newspaper, and it's like, oh, you could read it on, like, nah, I like my newspaper.
Yeah.
So I'm like one of those people right now where I'm like, no, I like going to like the New York Times website and reading the actual like document rather than asking ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is just taking information from New York Times and presenting it to me, you know. So I'm just like I said, it's hard to teach old dogs new tricks. And even though I'm only 38 or 39, I feel like I'm past my stage where I recognize real innovation. That's for guys like you, man. You're in your 20s. You know, this is where you really have to ask the 20-year-olds, like, what's hot right now? What's cool right now? And then go from there.
Right.
You know,
I think that makes sense, dude. I think 2025 is going to be a cool year. And my big thing for the next 2 months is I want to get prepared for 2025 before it hits, you know, and get
I hope there's a massive crash, dude. I really do.
If it happens, I hope it happens at the end of January. Let me get out in
exactly.
January.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because you got those hood positions. But
yeah,
I hope there's a massive correction that we can take advantage of and just buy the dip on it. Because I think that the bull rally still has a lot of steam. But, you know, dude, you know, one of the reasons why I have so many freaking great gains this year?
Why?
August. Okay.
Oh, dude. I mean, I got to give you credit, because August was the first flash crash, I guess you could call it, that I experienced publicly. And you and Steve both came on the show that day. I think that was literally August 5th or August 3rd, whatever it was. And you both, I remember that stream was like 6 hours, kind of calmed down everybody, including myself. Even though I was going to buy the dip, and I was buying the dip before you guys got on, but I bought the dip even further after you guys to kind of reconcile what happened. So take me back to what happened in August. Why did you buy the dip, and why did that create such a big opportunity for you?
Well, number one, it was a very stupid reason why the markets kind of crashed, and it was something that was easily solvable. So it wasn't like an existential like downward move where you had like, you know, governments failing and everything. It was just market participants were caught offsides very, very briefly, in which case the correction was very quick, right? So it's one of those things that if it's not a systemic problem, then the situation will improve rather quickly. So if you look at regional banks, right? We spoke about this last year with when we had the finance. You know, we had the whole issue happen with regional banks. They collapsed on themselves primarily because of the whole SVB and FRC and all that nonsense. But the thing is, with all the interventions that the Fed did, you could tell that the recovery was going to happen, but that was a real crisis, okay? This wasn't just a quick positioning thing that happened. But so the time horizon on the recovery of that was going to be at least a year out, which is, where ideally we bought those contracts, and we did well on them for TFC and for the other regional banks. And they're all caught up now. So when it comes to it, when there's a real existential problem, you need to get government intervention. You need to get Federal Reserve intervention that can help solve that. But for me, when I saw that, I was like, wait a second, this is just bad trades that got, when people got caught off sides for like a few days. The rally is still there. Like all the earnings are still improving, especially here in the US. Like everything is fine. So that was, dude, I bought, and I'm just gonna throw some red meat at the audience. I bought 2,000 call contracts of Carnival Cruise Lines. All right.
I bought 50 of Robinhood that day.
Yeah.
So, okay. So 2,000. That is a decent, and that was on August 5th, basically.
Correct. Yeah. So I was able to, dude, like I said, and you can see what Carnival did after that. So it was a nuts move for me. So that's one of the reasons why the good thing is I haven't sold anything against them yet. Well, I mean, I sold against them to create a spread, but I haven't sold them. So now I'm sitting on good amount of gains,
Yeah, dude, it was one of those things where like instinctually I wanted to buy the dip and I didn't have a ton of money to buy the dip. So I bought what I could, but it was a hell of an emotional thing to see your gains wiped away in a bull market in 2 hours. Even Palantir reported that day as well. So, it was just a ton of emotions, but then you realize, well, this is not a pandemic. This is not the housing bubble popping. This is a technical trade that went wrong because of the yen weakening against or strengthening too much against the dollar, which should reverse theoretically.
I was down $500,000 in a week. Can you believe that shit? 500K in a week. So it's nothing for guys like Jesse Dow and stuff, but for me, it was fucking massive, Yeah. But I also knew that, look, there's opportunities here that other people are not necessarily taking advantage of, and the fear has really taken over. And so, yeah, I was able to navigate it pretty nicely. So I'm hoping that maybe we get another event like that. But it's those events like that are where you can kind of like, events like that are just, they're rare because usually when things go down, they go down and there's like a little bit of more there's a little bit more of a challenge getting the market to come up. But we had literally like a 4-week V-shaped recovery, which is fucking nuts.
It was pretty incredible, dude. It was pretty incredible. So
yeah.
All right, that sounds good, Kris. Thank you for joining the show today. Appreciate it, and thank you for sharing all the advice around how you're thinking of 2025 strategy. And
dude,
talk more.
Definitely look at the house situation now. Like right now, you've got some capital coming your way. Hopefully in January, you've got excess. Now is the time to start building that second phase of your growth. So the question now is, I'll pose this question to you because you posed it to me. What are your personal and professional goals for next year?
So personal, I just want to get my health right. That's like a big thing because I think I let myself go too much this year. And then professional is I really want to set up an infrastructure to create content outside of just the market open, market close in a much more evergreen way, which means getting some of the biggest, guests in the world. I think Vlad was a good start. Shams Anchor was awesome, but like now we want to see, every month can we get 2 or 3 people that are like big names? And then B, I really am thinking of that compound like podcast because I think it's such a good podcast. They have such a good production team. And I know with the audience we're building in the retail community, it can be big. And so I think, but that would require moving out. So I think next year, the main goal is move out, set up a studio while you move out, and then be able to navigate your, my health situation at the same time.
I hope that next year is the year you get the YouTube or the play button.
Oh yeah, the 100K sub one. Yeah, that'd be cool.
The 100K sub goal, that would be the most, like, I feel like even though I'm not really like a content creator, I feel like you're my content creation proxy because I come on your stuff all the time. So if you get the silver button, I'm gonna take a picture with it. Be like, yeah, this is partially mine too, motherfucker.
It is 100%. No, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
So, like I said, I hope next year's the year you get the silver button. So, just to sign off on it, everyone here who's not subscribed, please like and subscribe so we can get Amit that damn silver button. Because otherwise, Amit's gonna have to start doing fucking ASMR content. You don't want that.
All right, Kris, I appreciate it, brother. Means a lot. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye. All right, folks. That is it. Friday, October 25th. We are done with the market close. Thankfully, Kris got to join, even though Steve couldn't, and hopefully it was a good discussion for everybody. Yeah, last 2 days of being 26. And then Sunday, we will be 27 years old, which is super cool. It'll be super fun. You know, I was reading some articles last night about people having like anxiety turning 27 because that's like the beginning of the process of getting closer to 30. I feel zero of that anxiety. This is also something people feel from 24 to 25. I remember when I was 25 feeling it. When you get to 26, people don't really have that anxiety, but 25 or 27 are like those years. I feel none of that anxiety, dude. I am ready to get older, ready to move on. And, you know, one of the things that I think we talked about a lot is like when your head's down, focused, just grinding, you kind of don't worry about stupid shit, like how old you're getting. You know, it's like, because at the end, the reason I qualify that as stupid is because everyone gets older. There's nothing you can do about it, right? Like you cannot beat Father Time. Elon has not come up with a solution for that yet. So if you can't beat it, then you have to embrace it. And if you're so focused on working and building, then age as a idea of like something being scary for people getting older is something I think most people aren't focused on because they're just working, right? Like I don't think Elon thinks about the fact that he's almost turning 60. I think he's like, what, 54, 55 or something. I think he's just like, how do we get to Mars? You know, that's what matters. Pucho says when you get to 30, you're going to be like, what the fuck? Yeah, maybe at 30, it's a little bit more psychological, but I think it's really, David says so much cope. I think it's really just about, are you happy with the work that you're doing? And if you are, then your age is irrelevant because you got to wake up every morning with a purpose, whether you're 27, 37, 47, it doesn't matter. And, you know, you guys make this the greatest job in the world every day, coming on and trying to hopefully provide value and just building and growing from there. And, you know, 2024 has been a big year. It's been a year I didn't really expect. You know, there was a moment in 2024 in February. There was a week where there was like a lot of growth just on YouTube and Twitter. And it was that week where I was like glued to my phone. And it was one of those things where I was like, is this a fad or is this replicatable? Like, is this like a 1 week where the numbers are going up? And, you know, it's not like February was some crazy bull month or something like that. It actually was a bad month because people were scared about NVIDIA earnings. But it was just like I was working a lot and I was seeing numbers go up a lot. And I was like, okay, let's see if we can replicate this. And then in March, it kept going. We had the Vlad interview. That was a big deal. April, it kept going. May, it kept going. June, it kept going. July. And then I was like, oh, like I'm working my ass off every day. And like, it's just in the zone of like growth. And that doesn't have to stop. It stops if you want it to stop by stopping the work. But if you're in the zone and you keep the work up, it's not a fad. Like you can actually begin the process of really fucking building and growing. And I think that's when mentally those last 2 weeks of March, I changed my entire mindset of just like, let's just go after the whole fucking thing. Whether you're 26, 27, 28, whatever it matters, just go after it. And so now we're here and now we're in the process of actually going after it. Webb says it's the personality mixed with authenticity you present, my man. It's very relatable and enjoyable to watch and be a part of. Thank you so much, man. That means the world to me. That's why I was reading some of the comments when I had the Kalshi guy on the other day, and they were like, oh, this is a paid sponsorship. I'm like, dude, like this is the hottest startup in the world. The election markets are like the biggest thing people are talking about. I thought it was a great guest to have on for 20 minutes at the end of the show and like provide some perspective. And it was like 3 or 4 comments out of like a bunch of comments that really, you know, that thought it was a great segment. But even people saying like, oh, he paid to be on your show. It's like, I would never accept the money. I don't do it. I just don't do it. It's just not in me, bro. It doesn't feel right. I've seen a lot of creators go the wrong direction by taking some stupid check and then ruining their integrity. And it's just not the way. It's not the way to do it. I told you guys this the other day. I had this podcast, not this podcast, this meeting with this like finance app. And they were like, hey, we just want to meet you. And I was like, guys, I don't do any sponsorship, so I don't know what the point of this meeting is. They were like, no, can we just meet? And then I took the meeting, because at the end of the day, you have to be humble enough to still take the meeting. You never know what connection you can get out of this. And then I get into the meeting, and it's a stupid meeting, because they're like, hey, well, what if we did this? What if we did this? And I'm like, no. And then finally they were like, well, what if we did this? And I was like, guys, there is a reason Vlad sat down with me for an hour in person. There is a reason. And one of the reasons is that he doesn't see me shilling all this stupid stuff for short-term checks. I think he sees someone who has a chance to really be big one day. And when you see that, you give them the opportunity of a lifetime, which is sitting down with them and really increasing their brand presence. And I don't think he would do that if, you were shilling every left random product that you see for a quick buck. So yeah, Amit is not the coupon code, because Amit doesn't have any coupons, right? So like it's one of those things where, again, that authenticity is so fucking important to me, and it's at the behest of the income potential I can make, but the income potential does not matter. What matters is fucking grinding. That's what's the most important thing. Kris says right here, getting the right wife is the best investment I made. That's the other personal goal I have in 2025 is I want to start dating more, because I'll be 27 going into 28. I would like to get married around 31, 32. I know these are arbitrary numbers, but that would be nice to see. And I have to move out, I think, to realistically, like, meaningfully date. And I also want to get healthier to date, because I don't think I'm the best version of myself yet. So I think that's another personal goal that I have going into 2025. It's funny. In 2024, I haven't even thought for a second about dating. And the reason is because it was really one of those 0 to 1 years where it's like, okay, like, at least establish some foundation, and the girl stuff is really going to take away from trying to establish the foundation, because you got to fucking text them all day, and it's like, I don't want to do that, right? And you got to actually care about their emotions, and it's just like, I care about the stock market, bro. But 2025, now that there's a bit of a foundation, that is also another personal goal that I want to do as well. Gary says 56, take things slow, guys. 100%, dude. I think also as you get older, you realize, like, I remember at 18, I wanted everything by the time I was 25. And then you get to 25 and you're like, that's not how it works, right? Like, outside of these random, unique anomalies, it takes time, meaningful time to build something. And sometimes you just got to get older to realize it takes time, and you got to enjoy the process as you're trying to do what you got to do. Davis says, you text me all day. What do you mean? No, Davis, I respond to your stupid messages in the group chat asking me to do interviews with these people that is not going to happen. I could expose you right now. I'm not going to expose you, but I could expose you right now. And I am not going to do it. Real quick, one second. Let me get my charger into this laptop. All right. There we go. We were yapping so much, this thing was ultimately going to die on us. Yeah, so last 2 days of being 26, and then we're going to end it out on Sunday and turn 27. The machine says, Amit, never compromise your integrity for money. Yeah, it's a big thing, dude. It's a really, really, really big thing to just not let money be the reason why you sacrifice long-term growth and authenticity. Just can't be money, dude. Like, there's got to be something better than money to sacrifice that for. And unfortunately, most of the time it's money. But money can't be the best way to do it. Bring the girl on the show and we'll decide for you. I got to talk to her this weekend and got to see if we can set her up as a contributor. That's the other thing in 2025. I've already been planning the new studio. Like, I've done a lot of research on like the standing desk and everything that I need to like make the studio better. So that's another thing I forgot to tell Kris. I want to make the market open really, really good in 2025. And that requires a little bit of an investment into the studio and a lot more contributors onto the show to make it better. Shout out to CodeStrap. Glad you're back. CodeStrap, thank you for being here. We will have Palantir Weekly on tonight. I'm sure CodeStrap will probably be tuned into that at 11 p.m. Me, Matt Money, Arnie, Amir, and Dominic. So full house tonight to discuss Palantir being a $100 billion-dollar company. Dude, CodeStrap, it was so fun chilling with CodeStrap. We got to get dinner after the AIP conference, and it was super fun because we've been talking for like 3 years, and we finally got to like just sit and talk. And he's exactly how he is on the podcast. On the podcast, when he used to join Palantir Weekly, it was unfiltered. He didn't care. He would just say what he feels. And basically, when you hang out with him, he's the same. You ask him a question, he will give you his raw, unfiltered opinion. And so it was super, super awesome to get his perspective. The other thing about CodeStrap that a lot of people don't know is he's a student of history. So not only is he an amazing technologist, but he fucking understands the world, and particularly the history of America, right? So it's such a perfect fit with Palantir because he is one of the people, I think, in the entire Palantir community that understands the philosophical underpinnings of Palantir. Because a lot of people, it's hard to get it, right? Because a lot of people don't care about philosophy, nor do a lot of people actually study philosophy, but he's read a lot of the scholarship that Karp will randomly throw out when he's on his rants, and he'll actually be able to make the connections. And so when you connect that to the technology, you kind of become unstoppable, right? So it was super, super exciting to talk with CodeStrap and discuss. Cigars and whiskey was epic. I had my first cigar with CodeStrap. It was fun. It was a nice flavored cigar. It was great. We had some whiskey. It was a very, very fun night after AIPCon. So it was super dope. Jem says it's 5:34 a.m. in Singapore. I was sleeping and listening to you and Kris at the same time. There's so many people that text me that they like fall asleep to my voice, and it makes me so happy. And then they wake up and I'm still talking like 3 hours later. Like, how is this guy still yapping? Zirinzi Rin. I'm so sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Thank you for the $20 super chat. Happy early birthday to you, bro. Thank you so much, sir. Really, really appreciate it. You don't have to send the super chat, but it means the world. Thank you for the happy early birthday wish. It's cool, man. We're turning 27, moving forward in life, doing what we got to do. You know, the journey of life is so interesting because one day we all die, and I don't want to get morbid here, but one day it's all over. So, you kind of want to be on that deathbed if you get a chance to die peacefully and just like reflect on life, and no one knows what the hell happens after life. So I guess in those final moments, I think you want to be able to say, in the words of Frank Sinatra, I did it my way. That song, I don't know if you guys have heard that song, but I heard this song in 2019 driving down 287 South in New Jersey from my first job while I was a senior in college. And I heard a podcast talk about the song. And then immediately they were talking about how emotional the song is. And I turned off the podcast and I played the song, and I heard My Way for the first time by Frank Sinatra. Changed my life. And the song is actually not about death. It's actually about him like just retiring from music. It's not, but it sounds like it's about the end of life, even though it's not really about the end of life. But if you haven't heard the song, it's one of the most beautiful songs ever. And it's just Frank basically making a commitment to saying that he lived life his way. And when you talk about the sovereignty and authenticity of Western values, part of it is that in the West, in America, we believe you can do shit your own way. You can actually pursue your own path and destiny, and you can build out a podcast studio. You can make a YouTube channel. You can figure out how to get people's attention. You can make investments. You can pay a lot of that money from the gains on the investments to the government as a result of making those investments, but you can do shit your way. It's such a special set of values. And, we got to protect those values, but it's one of those things I think everyone wants to live up to at the end of the day. I prefer My Way by Usher. That's also a good one. Michelle said, I turned 30 this year. LOL, had a death to my 20s themed party. That's an interesting one. I was in Vegas when I turned 26. I was with Kris as well last year. So it was a fun 26th birthday. But I have no desire to do any party or Vegas or anything this year. Maybe it's because I just went to India and I'm really tired, to be honest, now that I'm back. But death to my 20s is an awesome themed party. What do people wear to that party then? Was there any like kind of theme of like what they were there? Do you have shirts or something that said death to your 20s? That's an exciting theme as well. Jem, thank you for the super chat. Again, you guys don't have to do it. You can keep your hard-earned money. I just really appreciate your attention here. But thank you for the $28.98 Singapore dollars super chat. And thank you for the birthday wish. Thank you very much. As we turn 27 years old. Roscops has been watching you since the beginning of being a fellow Palantirian and all that. It's been a joy to watch you and your channel grow. Have a happy birthday on Sunday, going to bed. Night all. Thank you, sir, for being here. Means the absolute world. Yeah, I'm in touch with a bunch of Palantir alumni that are also just like, I mean, we all have been on the journey seeing this company rise. a lot of the Palantir alumni that I got to meet at AFPCon, they're retired from Palantir, but they have a shit ton of shares. And, they're just like, this is the craziest journey ever. And I got to get coffee with one of them. And he was one of the guys I had coffee with. I think I told you guys this. He was in Afghanistan. He almost died, bro. Like there was a bomb that went off that was near where he was at. It was like 200 feet away, and he woke up and everything was shaking and stuff. He ended up, thank God, surviving. But like he really was in the thick of it back in around 2008, 2009. And he's sitting on a lot of shares right now, and he's just like, this journey is absolutely insane to see what has happened with the stock, with the retail investors, with the community, everybody. It's just been incredible. And I think that's the other thing about Palantir. I talked about this morning with Ross Gerber, how he's so ungrateful, in my opinion, to Tesla, because the only reason he has a name is because of Tesla. One of the reasons I'm always going to be grateful to Palantir, regardless of what happens to the stock, is that they allowed me the opportunity to speak about something that provided a platform for people to discover who I am. And I've said this multiple times, but everyone needs their big break in life. And with Leo DiCaprio, it was Titanic. I mean, ironically, you needed Titanic to happen back in the 1920s or 1930s, whenever it happened, for a movie to be built on that, for Leo DiCaprio to then be Jack to get his big break. Now, would Leo DiCaprio have broken out in the movie scene, even if the Titanic situation never happened and they never had to make the movie? Maybe. Probably, because I believe he's talented enough. I think he's one of the greatest actors of all time. But like, you need things to happen in life for you to have a subject where you can engage yourself in, that people care about, and then that gives them the opportunity to then care about Wolf of Wall Street or the Reverend or whatever other movies that he does, or Catch Me If You Can, which, by the way, is a phenomenal movie. Catch Me If You Can is one of the most underrated Leo DiCaprio movies. See, I know nothing about movies, but when it comes to Leo DiCaprio, I'm actually a big fan of him, and I know something about his movies. So my point is, Palantir gave me a subject to discuss over the past 3 years, and I'm just so unbelievably grateful, because there's not many companies that are at the intersection of technology and philosophy, which is just like, it's just like everything to me, because I love technology, I love investing, but I really love philosophy. And when you got a tech company that's intertwined with philosophy, Outscorp's coming out with an entire freaking book in February about technology and philosophy, well, then it just creates one of the greatest opportunities in the world to build a brand off of that. And so I just will be so grateful to Palantir forever. And I think it takes a little bit of a humility to recognize that, yes, they've gotten a ton from me in terms of brand awareness, but I've also built my entire brand because of them. So it's one of those things where loyalty also is important, right? And I know people say don't fall in love with the stock. I get it. And look, I say the stock is overvalued, expensive all the time, right? So it's like, it's not really that. It's more so about, do you have an affinity for the fact that the only reason you're here is because of them, right? Are you grateful for a little bit of the community that helped your individual dreams become a reality? And I think Gerber is missing a lot of that stuff. But again, that comes back to authenticity. That comes back to being grateful. That comes back to having a foundation that actually matters when you try to connect with an audience and are honest about how you're even doing what you're doing. Amit, are you getting Twitter payouts yet? Yes, I am. And I have some beef with Twitter payouts. So I just got the notification. I got paid $300 for the past 2 weeks, which I'm very grateful for. However, Twitter has changed their methodology of paying people by, instead of paying you by the ads underneath the tweets, which is what it used to be like for the past 5 months. So like under your tweet, like people would scroll and they would see ads, and then those would be the way you get paid. Now it's about engagement. 309 right there. Now it's about engagement. So if people just engage with your tweets, you get paid. There are accounts I'm seeing on Twitter that are just substantially smaller than me that are making, like, there's this one account, dude, that's way smaller than me. He's made like 7,000 in 2 weeks. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I'm very grateful for the $300, but I feel like I'm building a lot more on Twitter than some of these other people that are making literally 30x the amount of money that I'm making. And so I feel like there's something screwy going on in their system. And I know this thing has to be rolled out by November 8th. That's when everyone's going to get like the new official way to be paid. But it's always been very weird how I've got paid on Twitter. I never thought I got paid appropriately from Twitter, just based on the raw metrics that I'm looking at on my account versus other accounts. But who knows? Hopefully in the next 2 weeks, they roll this new way of paying people to everybody. Because, like, I don't know, dude, $300 for some of the numbers that I'm putting up. And I work, dude, I spend a lot of time on Twitter every day. It's not like I'm asking And it's not like I'm demanding that I should be paid more. I'm really putting in work on Twitter. And I would do it even without getting paid because I care about brand awareness. But if they're going to pay based on these metrics, I feel like, some of those metrics should be. But look at this, bro. Look at this. Tiffany, like this is what I'm saying. Tiffany, she just made $11,000. You guys, this is what I'm not lying, bro. I made 300. She made 11,000. Now, if you go to her profile, she has 184,000 followers. I have 88,000. So she has 100,000 more followers than me. However, it's not about the followers. It's about the engagement. I don't think she's getting, is she getting $11,000 worth of engagement more than my $300? I don't think so. If she even made 5,000, I'd be like, yeah, which still is absurd to me. But 11,000, bro, compared to my 300, like I feel like something is going up here. I don't know how she's getting that, and I'm getting 300. I don't literally think she's getting that much more engagement than me. Change your profile pic to a semi-cute Asian. Well, she doesn't post thirst traps all day and stuff, right? Like, it's not just that. I feel like, she actually posts like fun content around technology and Elon and all this stuff. She does post a lot about Elon. Maybe that's the reason why she's getting paid more. But I'm like, what is going on, bro? $11,000, dude. Like, if I could make 11,000 every 2 weeks on Twitter, which I think forget 11. If I could make 1,000 every 2 weeks, that would be nice. To get an extra 2,000 per month and I could put that into the stock market, that would be really nice. 300, I feel like I gotta talk to someone at Twitter. I feel like something's going on. It just does not make sense. Cleavage, I don't think I'm not going to be able to engage in the cleavage, but and she doesn't do that. Like, let's go through her tweets, bro. Let's see what she's actually tweeting about. Like 11,000 versus $300 is just, there's something going on there. Okay. This is the latest video she posted.
Okay, I'm bringing my mom and my stepdad to the polls with me, and we are all voting for Donald Trump. You're voting for Donald Trump, right, Martin?
Of course, of course.
Would you disown me if I was voting for Kamala Harris?
No, but I would think you're stupid.
Thank you. Okay,
that got 135,000 views. Okay, that's fine. A picture of a New York Times post. Okay. I voted for Donald Trump in Nevada today. Okay, that's fine. Again, there's not like, she's not naked there or anything, right? So it's like not that crazy. Again, another picture of her voting. That's fine. Picture of Trump, my president. I guess she's leaning into politics, which is fine. I don't lean into politics. Maybe I got to lean into politics, which I'm never going to do. So like, if that's the thing, then I guess I'm never getting paid. But good morning, my little McDonald quarter pounders. Is that the reason she's getting $11,000, bro? Look at this. This is a picture of her wearing a cow dress. I don't see any cleavage. I don't know if you guys. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not like my numbers are not like her numbers. My numbers are pretty decent as well, and I tweet a lot more than her. And I'm in the finance world, which theoretically, just based on the advertisers alone that are paying for finance-related content, you would imagine those numbers are higher than politics. And also, it's just one of those things where I don't understand it, dude. Like, I really don't get it. Like yesterday, so she had a post that got 100,000 views or 40,000 views where she said, "Good morning, my little quarter pounder, McDonald's, whatever." I had this post yesterday about the Wall Street Journal putting out this stupid article about Elon. This got 108,000 views, 2,000 likes, 235 retweets, 298 replies, 90 bookmarks. That's pretty decent engagement for a post like this. And I've had multiple posts like this over the past 2 weeks. My Robinhood post alone about them unveiling the new trading platform got like 400,000 impressions, and a bunch of other tweets after that. It leveled up to about 1.5 million impressions. How does that result in $300? Like, I just don't get it. I really don't get it. Mickey says, "Don't ever call me a double quarter pounder." So like, 11,000, bro. Dude, if I was making 11 grand every 2 weeks on Twitter, we would have a lot of fun in the markets, bro. We would be selling some decent puts. So I don't know, but hopefully the Twitter money can start coming in, because I am putting in work on Twitter, but that is weird. Could you talk to Twitter directly? Maybe they could fix it. I got to find how to contact an employee. There's a bunch of them on Twitter. Maybe I can just tweet at them, but I don't want to sound desperate or something, but I just feel like it doesn't make sense. I feel like there's no way that that girl gets 11 grand and I get $300, and her numbers, even if it's higher than mine, it's not astronomically higher. It's not 40, 50x higher. There's just no way. At least I don't think so. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like, even when Elon retweeted that post and I got 56 million views, dude, I got paid $400 during that week when that happened. 56 million freaking views, $400. Not saying I'm not grateful for 400, but like, I feel like there's a mismatch there. 56 million views, 400, like something's going on there. Does she do more posts? Nope. She has 20,000 posts. I have, how many posts do I have? Well, we'll look at, I have 83,000. So let me look at her social blade right now. Let's see how many times she actually posts a day. So Tiffany, what's her name? Tiffany Fong. Okay. So let's look at this. I haven't posting as much this week because I came back from India, but usually I'm posting a lot more. So let's go to her average tweets a day. Let's see. Bro, she's posting 40 times a day. $11,000 off of, let's just do the math. 40 times 14 is how much? 2 weeks. 560 tweets, $11,000. That means on average, she is making $19 a tweet. Now let's look at mine. Now my numbers might not be as good, again, because I was in India, so I wasn't able to tweet that much, but let's just do the math for me. I do on average 86 tweets a day, so that's double. And usually, guys, it's more so like 150. It's not 86, but I was just traveling last 2 weeks. So 86 times 14, 1,200 posts I made. $300 divided by 1,204. I get paid 25 cents. I get paid 25 cents a tweet. She gets paid $20. Something's going on, dude. Something is going on. Like that does not make sense. It doesn't make sense. Unless it's the politics thing, unless she's leaning into politics and that's what's setting it off. But I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's the case. I know I don't have breasts. Maybe that's the reason, but she's not showing her breasts. She's not showing, she's not thirst trapping. There's a lot of girls on Twitter that thirst trap. She's not doing that. So I don't know. There's gotta be something. Maybe it's something else. All right. Anyway, that's enough of my rant on Twitter, but I'm happy I got that out there because I've been thinking about that for the past couple weeks. Like, it has made no sense how I've been getting paid. And, regardless, I'll tweet without the money. But the money on top would be nice if, we are spending time to work on it. I work in sales and affiliate marketing. I can guarantee you she has a different pay structure. Yeah. So definitely she has a different pay structure. Now the question is, does she have a deal with some of the people at Twitter to keep her posting? Because that could also be a thing, dude. There could be a backhanded deal where Twitter reached out to her and they were like, hey, we're going to juice you up. Just like stay on our platform. Don't leave because you're a cute Asian chick and we want more people. I mean, look, and more power to her if that's how she's making her money. But that could be something that's happening. That definitely could be a deal. And look, it makes sense on Twitter's part. It's just like, I think mine is absurdly lower compared to hers. So I don't need like some special deal, but I feel like it should be a little different as well. She's an OG from 2011. Yeah, but she dude, an OG from 2011 that has posted 20,000 times on the platform. I've posted 85,000 times. Like there's a difference there. There's people who joined Twitter in 2008, but being on the platform long doesn't mean your engagement is better or your pay should be better unless you have a deal with Twitter, which is then it's different. But the longevity of your account, I don't think necessarily plays a role in the actual payment. I'm not leaning into politics, dude. I don't want to do that. I already post a little bit about political stuff, but it's more so like what's going on with Trump and like the election, how it relates to the economy, but not in an explicit sort of endorsement of either side. I don't know. It gets too polarizing. You could definitely build an audience that way. You could build a real big audience doing that because you just isolate your echo chamber into the Republicans or the Democrats. And then, look, I come across accounts every day that are super Kamala oriented, millions and millions and millions and millions of views because they're just attracting all the Democrats. And then you get super Trump accounts that get millions of views because they're attracting all the Republicans and they build their brands that way. But it just becomes so toxic where the stock market is more objective. Like you can have a meaningful conversation on Twitter about Amazon's free cash flow without hating someone, right? Because politics just inevitably leads to people being so polarized. And so that's why I definitely don't want to lean into politics. Bucket list guy, thank you for the $5 super chat. You will never really be far even as decided to use even go want to do look more like. I have no idea. what you just said, bucket list guy. I don't know if you're if it's Friday night and you had a little whiskey right there. You will never really be far even as decided to use even go want to do look more like. If anyone knows what that means, I appreciate the $5, but I have no idea what that means. Friday night's definitely starting early for you. That's for sure. That's for sure. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means. If X is all about transparency, like making the recommendation algorithm open source, I feel like fund dispersion should also be a transparent system. I agree, dude. They should give some transparency on how the hell they're paying people, because right now there's zero transparency. But look, I get it. Elon's trying to start the business. Maybe they have a deal with her to keep her on the platform. I get it. Like I get it. But I want to see other people's X payouts, because maybe hers is extreme. But we got to see some of these other accounts and what they're making. Oh, holy shit. Hold on. Oh, shit, guys. We just figured something out. Bucket list guy says, haha, it's a prank. Okay, that makes sense. I was so confused reading that. So there's this guy on Twitter named Penny. Okay? I don't know if you guys know him. Penny2X. Oh, it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. So this guy, I know this guy, he makes a lot of money on Twitter, okay? He just posted his payout, $7,500. Again, like, he works hard on Twitter. I'm not saying he doesn't work hard, but $7,500 compared to my $300 is a little crazy. Apparently, this is a picture I'm seeing. If it were only that easy, Penny, however, there is something you're not telling us, like how you can change your profile pic without losing a check. Penny responds, I asked a friend to help me. Are you happy? Grow up, bro. And this account is claiming, breaking, I'm Penny admits to having friends on the inside working at X to give him advantages that normies doesn't have. His friend is probably the one helping him get such big payouts. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I believe this. I believe this. I really do believe this. If this guy, so on Twitter, you guys might not know, if you change your profile pic, you lose your verification check for like 2 days because they have to like make sure you're the same person. It's a stupid rule they have, but everyone has to go through it, which is why no one changes their profile pic, because no one wants to lose their verification check even for 2-3 days. That's like bad for your brand. But if you got friends on the inside that can juice up the algo to make sure you, or just like change the rules for a certain account to make sure that doesn't happen, it would tend to believe that you also have friends that can change your sales structure in regards to how much you get paid for your posts. And it seems pretty damn obvious, dude, because again, I've looked at this guy's numbers and my numbers. I'm not saying his numbers aren't better than mine, but it's not like 30x better to the point to justify these numbers. So what I need to do now is I need to get a friend inside of X. That's what I need to do. I need to play the game, baby, because it seems like they're not gonna make this an equitable system for everybody with full transparency like YouTube does. YouTube, there's no playing around the game. YouTube, it's very, like, that's why YouTube, you can build a career off of it because you know how much money you're going to make based on how much you grow. And it's pretty consistent. Like, it's the most consistent platform in the world. If there's some backroom deals, we got to get some friends in Twitter, dude. We got to get some friends in Twitter. Elon needs to shut that BS down if the field is not level. You know what? Elon's probably encouraging it because he wants Twitter to survive. Because I mean, look, Twitter doesn't have a billion people like Facebook or TikTok or Instagram. So Twitter is still, I think Twitter's big because in my finance world, it matters, but Twitter's relatively small compared to a lot of the other platforms. And so these deals are probably what keeps the big creators on. So I need to get one of these fucking deals, bro. I need to get one of these deals, dude. Seems like that's what needs to happen. It's either these deals or I'm going to keep getting $300 a month for putting up numbers that are way better than the average account. It seems like that's happening. Again, this is not confirmed, but if he's admitting that he has a friend on the inside, he said, I asked a friend to help me. Are you happy? Grow up, bro. First of all, he didn't just ask a friend to help me. He asked a friend who's one of the engineers inside of X, the platform, to give him a very big benefit on his account, which is not lose his verification mark, which means it's pretty obvious there probably was a conversation, I'm just like logically deducing, to help boost out his payments. Because you just can't explain the numerical divergence between an account that is relatively the same in terms of size getting that much more in payments. It just doesn't make that much sense. Maybe I'm wrong here, but it seems like that's what's happening. All right, so we were talking about my last couple days of being 26, and we went into this whole Twitter rabbit hole. But this is good. At least we figured out the reasoning behind how this is happening. Mate, you need an insider to turn the 300 into 30K. Yeah, that's facts, dude. I need an insider, bro. Because look, I mean, like that's not the worst gig, right? If I'm already posting on Twitter all the time, if someone could reward the content you're posting without having to like go get some external sponsorship or whatever, essentially it's Twitter just saying, hey, we appreciate you and we want to pay you more. Now, is it fair? Hell no, it's not fair at all. And it's not an equitable system. And it's actually giving false promises to creators on like, hey, if you work hard, you can build a career. It's like, no, you can't. Like if you got friends on the inside giving people $11,000 for saying, hello, good morning, my mini quarter pounders. Like it's hard to compete with that if that's the content that's getting them 11 grand in 2 weeks. And to be honest, they're probably giving her that money so that she can post that screenshot and then inspire a bunch of creators to be like, holy crap, we need to start making money because this girl's making 11 grand on Twitter. This is the place to be. When in reality, if they don't have those deals, they're probably not going to make that money. I guess it's, you know, it's the way Elon's operating the company right now. But yeah, I need to get one of these deals. All right. So I think that's it for me. I'll be live Palantir Weekly tonight again, 11 p.m. And we will be talking about Palantir reaching $100 billion in market cap, which is super, super exciting. And I'll be live on Sunday for my birthday, but we'll do the future show at 7:45. And then Monday we'll be back to normal. Monday, we don't have any big earnings. Let me see. Tuesday, we have SoFi. Wednesday, we have Robinhood, and we have Meta and Microsoft. So I'll be covering Robinhood, but we'll take a look at Microsoft and Meta as well. And we have Starbucks, DoorDash. We got a bunch of these companies. Tuesday we have McDonald's in the morning, Pfizer, PayPal, BP. We'll probably stream the PayPal call. After the close, we have Google and Visa, Chipotle on Tuesday, and then we'll stream SoFi over PayPal in the morning on Tuesday. And then Thursday we have Uber in the morning. After the close, we have Apple and Amazon, Intel, a bunch of companies on Thursday. And then Friday, we have all the gas companies, oil and gas companies, Exxon, Chevron, all of those companies. All right, so it'll be a big week. Oh, what should I, that final question. What should I dress up for Halloween on the 31st, which is a Wednesday, I think. No, Thursday. I've been thinking of ideas, but I don't have any good ones. So put in the chat. What do you guys think? What should I dress up? I want to dress up as something. You have no comment on Skechers, which has some of the best shoes to wear. So Skechers, I didn't go through their earnings, but they were up 14%. So shout out to Skechers. I don't own the stock. I actually forgot they're a public company, to be honest, but they're down 4% today. They were up 14% yesterday. They had a good earnings, and it seems like people are buying shoes. So I don't buy Skechers, but yeah, that stock did well on their earnings. Dress as Alex Karp. I don't know, dude. I feel like it would just be a white shirt with my hair going crazy. I feel like we can do better than that. You know, I wanted to get like a bull outfit, but I couldn't find any good ones. So that didn't work. There was another outfit I was looking for that was, I wanted to be Optimus. There are some adult Optimus outfits, and let me see if it's still on Amazon, but it was sold out on Amazon. I would really love to do that. That would be fun, dude. Adult Optimus Halloween, like the Tesla Optimus robot one. We still have 4 days till Halloween. Maybe I can find a website that can deliver in time. Humanoid robotic Halloween outfit. I think that would be cool. That'd be fun. Yeah, this one. This is what this is not the best one, but this is one of the ones that I was looking at. Gotta be Robinhood. Yo, Robinhood might be the one. Robinhood might be the one. This was it's not the best outfit, but it's one of those. Let me see if they have a Robinhood Halloween costume. Maybe that's it. That would be a nice one. Costume men. Yeah, they have it. Maybe I'm Robinhood. Yeah, there you go. You got Robinhood. I think I might have to be Robinhood. That would be fun. A jar of mayo. That's disgusting. We're not doing that. Look at this. It's not too bad. Robinhood. I don't like the shade of green here, though. I want a better green. But that would be fun. They have the basic Robinhood hat. I was Joker many times in the past, so I want to do something else besides Joker. Also, that Joker 2 film. Have you guys watched it? I don't want to go watch it because people say it sucks, but I wish it wasn't that bad. Have you seen the boxes where the kids actually transform into the truck? Yeah, I've seen some of those. Those are so cute. I look forward to giving out candy this year. I just want to, like, it's so cool, bro. Just like I did trick-or-treating when I was younger, so it's so nice to see like kids actually go out. And I think this is the first time we're in a neighborhood where kids actually trick-or-treat. So it'll be fun, dude. It's like, it was a big tradition for me growing up. Now, obviously, I don't do it as a 27-year-old guy, but like every year my mom dressed me up and she took me trick-or-treating, and it was really fun when I was little. It was really, really fun. Batman, Kris is Batman. Kris should get like be Darth Vader or something. I'm not gonna wear this costume anywhere. I'm gonna wear it on stream on the market open, market close. So it'll just be a market open, market close thing. But yeah, it won't be anywhere else. Is there anything better than Robinhood? Is there anything better than Robinhood? Anything cooler? Because Robinhood's cool, but it's not like amazing. It's not like, let me ask ChatGPT. Let's ask ChatGPT. Let's see what she has to say. Okay. What are 10 really eye-popping men's Halloween costumes? Let's see what she has to say. I missed that in New York. Yeah, there's not that much trick-or-treating in New York. In the suburbs, that happens more often. Oh, are you guys dressing up at all at your jobs? Like my mom, she works at a school. I think she's going to dress up. She loves dressing up. Okay, so ChatGPT says cyberpunk warrior, zombie astronaut, headless horseman, retro's 80s fitness instructor, medieval plague doctor, mad scientist, Viking king, carnival ringmaster, Victorian vampire. Okay, all of these suck. Can you give me 10 more? We got to get some better ones. You got the wild hair for Nikola Tesla. Yeah, that might not be the worst idea either. I gotta see. I'll come up with something cool. I definitely want to dress up on Halloween. I want to come up with something really cool and have it be something fun. I have a costume for nothing. I always have a costume for nothing. My spouse and bestie don't like dressing up. Well, that's fair. I definitely love Halloween. My mom conditioned into me when I was younger, so it'd be fun to dress up as well. All right, that's it for me, folks. Thank you, everybody. I'll be live on Sunday for the Futures show. And yeah, it will be my birthday on Sunday, so I'll go live there around 7:45 Eastern. Thank you, everybody, for coming back this week. As I came back from India, really means the entire world to me. Just meant a lot. Monday morning or Tuesday morning showing up, and 2,000 of you were there, and you were happy to have the show back in action. And let's just keep leveling it up going into 2025. Keep doing what we got to do. We got to get through this election and keep going forward. And next week, big tech earnings as well. So that'll be a big week in the markets as we navigate all of that together. All right, that is it for me. Thank you, everybody. Palantir Weekly, $100 billion market cap. Congrats again to all shareholders. Just incredible to witness. We'll be live 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And me, Matt, Dominic, Arnie, and Amir will be analyzing what's going on in the world of Palantir. All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Love you all. I'll see you guys tonight, 11 p.m. If not, I'll see you Sunday on the Future Show. Good night, everybody. Have a good weekend.